Chapter 53. Young Master. The guard leader was dumbfounded by what he saw. He thought that Zhou Fu was a noob. He did not expect him to be this powerful. At that moment, he even thought about how he was going to spend the rest of his life. Who knew that in the blink of an eye, he would be able to live the rest of his life? Not only the guard leader, on the other side, the Zhou family's guards and the bandits all stopped. At this moment, the focus of the entire crowd was on Zhou Fu. Chundanian, right? If you don't want to die, tell your men to put down their weapons and surrender on the ground. Zhou Fu patted the guard leader, who was in a daze, and signaled him to return to the carriages. He alone was enough. The guard leader opened his mouth and wanted to refute, but he felt that there was nothing he could do here, so he returned to the carriages gloomily. Cough, cough. Chundanian straightened his upper body with the help of the two guards. He coughed and spat out some of the blood in his chest. Who are you? Chundanian knew who Zhou Fu was. In Heong City, those who had some connections would know who Zhou Fu was because he was the role model of the foppish young masters. Zhou Fu smiled. Me? Of course, I'm the young master of the Zhou family, Zhou Fu. Chundanian was silent for a while and said with his teeth clenched, "Shameless scoundrel." He had such a high cultivation, and yet he pretended to be a foppish young master for so many years. He must have a plan. What was this kind of person if not scoundrel? Right now, Chundanian was surrounded by 6 guards. 2 of them were supporting him, while the other 4 were on guard with their swords. Zhou Fu ignored the swords pointed at him and asked, "Have you made up your mind? Surrender or die?" "Young Master Zhou, you don't have to say anymore. There is only a Chundanian who dies standing, not a Chundanian who dies kneeling." His tone was firm, as if he was a hero who was about to die. Zhou Fu slapped his forehead and thought to himself, "You are just a bandit. Why are you acting so brave? You are showing off how noble your profession is. If that's the case, I'll send you on your way." Before he finished speaking, Zhou Fu suddenly rushed towards the 4 guards who were standing with swords. His right hand clenched into a fist, while his left hand formed a seal. His chi and blood surged as great strength was born. He was like a ferocious beast. The 4 guards did not cower. They gripped their long swords tightly and rushed forward. Kill! Kill! With 2 sabers in front and 2 sabers behind, they formed a simple attack formation. Zhou Fu snorted disdainfully. "Oof! Die!" Bang! With a loud sound, the sabers of the 2 guards who were charging at the front were broken and they were sent flying. The 2 sabers behind them chopped down, and the 2 men's eyes shone with a fierce light. Kill! Dang dang! 2 long sabers slashed at Zhou Fu's shoulders, one on each side, quite symmetrical. How could this be? After the blade came into contact with his body and tore through his clothes, it could no longer cut down. It felt as if they had slashed at a rock that was incomparably hard. The recoil caused their wrists to hurt. Zhou Fu raised his hands and blocked the long sabers. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched out continuously. 2 crisp sounds rang out in the air. It was the sound of his clothes vibrating under the great force. Ah! Screams rang out as the 2 guards followed in his footsteps. At this moment, Zhou Fu was in high spirits. Sabers, blood, battle cries, and his own powerful strength. All of these were stirring up the hot blood in his heart. Kill! Zhou Fu roared. His body soared into the air like an eagle swooping down. He clenched his fists and punched down. Boom! In the smoke and dust, the last 2 guards were sent flying. They spat out blood and fell to the ground. Their bodies twitched a few times before they stopped breathing. Zhou Fu looked at Chundanian, whose face was filled with despair. He wanted to punch him, but he resisted the urge. Since the Black Mountain Bandits had attacked him time and time again, why couldn't he fight back? The 3rd leader of the Black Mountain Bandits was killed by him. The yin-yang transvestite who came to cause trouble was killed by him. Now, Chundanian, who had intercepted him halfway, was also crippled. Strong confidence surged in his body. Kill up the mountain. I want to see how many lives these Black Mountain Bandits have for me to kill. Guards, keep an eye on this bandit leader. Don't let him die before we find out the situation of the Black Mountain bandits. Just a moment ago, when the other bandits saw their leader retreat, they scattered and fled in all directions. The guards of the Zhou family were still in shock. By the time they reacted, the bandits had already run into the forest. Young master, what should we do now? Ever since Zhou Fu showed his prowess, these people naturally followed Zhou Fu as their leader. Is there any place we can rest nearby? The guard leader thought for a while and said, if I remember correctly, there's a manor not far away. It belongs to the Liu family. I wonder if we can stay there for a while. The Liu family? Zhou Fu looked up and thought to himself, it can't be so coincidental, right? Heiyang City, Zhenbao Pavilion's Liu family? Yes, that's the Liu family. Let's go to the Liu family manor. Yes. After the convoy was reorganized, they set off. The Liu family manor was not far from the place where the incident happened. It was only an hour's journey. After the Zhou clan's convoy entered the manor, the people of the manor blocked their way. This is the Liu family manor in Heiyang City. Who are you? What business do you have here? Zhou Fu lifted the curtain and said, we are from the Zhou family in Heiyang City. I'm also friends with your young master. Now that something has happened, I would like to rest at the manor for a few days. Young master's friend? The person who blocked the way was stunned for a moment and his tone softened. Please wait for a moment. I will ask our young master. After saying that, he turned and ran into the manor. This time, Zhou Fu was also surprised. Could it be that Liu Zhong was also at the manor? After a while, a group of people walked out of the manor. They walked to the front of the convoy. Is that Zhou Fu in the carriage? Young Master Zhou? When Zhou Fu heard it, wasn't that Liu Zhong's voice? He walked down from the carriage and greeted Liu Zhong, who was already in front of him. Ha ha, it is indeed Brother Liu. Ha, it really is Brother Zhou. Please come in. After entering the manor, Liu Zhong asked the servants to tidy up a big yard for Zhou Fu and the rest to stay. At the same time, he invited Zhou Fu to have a meal together. Brother Zhou, are you going on a long trip? Zhou Fu nodded. My father arranged for me to go to Ning and City, but something happened on the way. I plan to stay for a few days. Oh, Liu Zhong rolled his eyes. Is it about the mayor's mansion? Zhou Fu grinned and nodded. Ha ha ha, what a coincidence. Me too. Since that is the case, just stay here. If you have anything to say, just say it. We are brothers. If that is the case, then I will have to trouble Brother Liu. You are welcome, Brother Zhou. After the meal, Liu Zhong brought Zhou Fu around the farmstead and complained that there was nothing in the farmstead, which made him, the young master of the Liu family, feel like he was going to die of boredom and so on. Zhou Fu only listened with a smile. His hands were clasped together under the cover of his sleeves. His mind had long flown to God knows where. When it was close to dusk, the two parted ways. Liu Zhong called the steward of the manor and ordered, clear out the people around the Zhou family's courtyard and change to another place to stay. Also, there are movements over there at night. No one is allowed to go there. The steward was shocked. He looked at Liu Zhong's serious expression and nodded. I will do it right away. The people in the manor moved quickly. In just an hour, the two courtyards near Zhou Fu were emptied. Zhou Fu smiled. This Liu Zhong is also an interesting person. This is good too. Since the sky is still bright, I will go out for a walk. Chapter 54. Black Mountain Stronghold. The leader, Ho Rong, was a tall and muscular man. He had a dignified face and a steady aura. Chen Danian is dead. In the main hall of the Black Mountain Stronghold stood a man in a plain robe. This man was the think tank of the Black Mountain Stronghold, Deng Yingguang. He had a scholarly aura. A few of the men who followed Chen Danian came back. This is the information we got after interrogating them. Ho Rong asked in a low voice, who did it? According to the information, there were no powerful people in the Zhou clan's convoy. The only one that was worth mentioning was the leader of the guards. But that person would not be Chen Danian's opponent. Once Deng Yingguang thought of the person who did it, his face turned strange. This person, how should I say, he is too unexpected. Ho Rong rolled his eyes. He just could not stand Deng Yingguang. Can't he just say what he wants to say? Why must he blabber so much? The bad habit of scholar. Even after becoming a mountain bandit, his temperament still did not change. Stop talking nonsense. Who is the person who did it? Even if it is that dandy Zhou Fu, don't beat around the bush. Hearing this, Deng Wang was stunned. He stared straight at Ho Rong, trying to see something from his face. Why are you looking at me? Say it. Leader is wise. Wise. I am wise. Ho Rong's eyes flashed. He stared at Deng Wang and said word by word, What do you mean? Is that Zhou Fu who did it? Zhou Fu? That dandy from the Zhou clan? Yes. A dandy killed Chun Danian? Yes. Yes, your ass. Bang. A wave of anger rushed to his head. Ho Rong crushed the cup in his hand. Do you think I am an idiot? A dandy can kill Chun Danian? Even if you give him a knife, he has to know how to use it. Deng Guang shook his head. Ho Rong's anger did not affect him at all. Not only Chun Danian. The people we sent to find trouble with the Zhou clan were all killed by this Zhou Fu. News just came from Heong City. There's a detailed explanation. Are you surprised? Ho Rong calmed down in an instant. The hall was silent for a while. You're saying that Zhou Fu is an expert? Have you been pretending all this time? Deng Guang shrugged and walked to the side to sit down. That's all I can say. That's strange. I can't figure it out. The Zhou Fu family is just a merchant family. This matter has been verified many times. Zhou Fu has no reason to pretend. Who knows? If you want to understand, why don't you capture that Zhou Fu and ask him? Ho Rong snorted coldly. I don't need you to tell me that. That Zhou Fu killed so many people from my Black Mountain stronghold. Naturally, I will settle the score with him. Not just your Black Mountain stockade. A gust of wind blew into the hall. Suddenly, two figures appeared in the hall. Both of them were dressed in black robes. Yin-Yang Demon Lord Yuchun was also killed by that brat. Ho Rong was not surprised by the sudden appearance of the two men in black, but this news surprised him. Yuchun? That brat can kill Yuchun? Yin-Yang Demon Lord Yuchun's martial arts were extremely strange, and his movement technique was also extremely fast. Such a person was also killed by Zhou Fu. This time, things were a little interesting. This is what the Scarlet Blood Gang's Iron Tigers said. Deng Guang suddenly said, You believe what he said? Do you people from the Dragon Suppressing Guard have brains? Deng Guang, you're courting death. Hearing the words Dragon Suppressing Guard, the two men in black's eyes shone fiercely. Deng Guang sneered, Don't give me that. So what if you're from the Dragon Suppressing Guard? Bite me. At this moment, Deng Guang was like a scoundrel. The scholarly temperament on his body had completely disappeared. You're just a few lackeys. Why don't you take a look at yourselves and tell us what to do every day? Don't you think so? Scarlet Bloodhand Xiabin? Oh, there's another one. What's your name? TSK. Sorry, I'm old. I can't even remember unimportant people's names. A mocking smile hung on the corner of his mouth, as if he was afraid that the other party couldn't see it. He even raised his eyebrows. Seeing that the situation in front of him was so interesting, Ho Rong also added fuel to the fire. Guang, that's soul-sealing Sword Ning Jun, an expert in the Dragon Suppressing Guard. You guys are very good. I will report this matter. Boom. Without waiting for Xie Jun to finish, a powerful killing intense sword from Ho Rong. Speak. Xiebin felt as if a knife was placed in front of his throat. Behind him, Ning Jun quickly mediated. Everyone, there's no need for that. We're all working for the higher-ups. There's no need for this. Everyone, calm down, calm down. Ho Rong coldly snorted. He also knew that he couldn't kill these two people. If you dare to speak, I'll flatten your Dragon Suppressing Guard. Ning Jun smiled and said, Yes. It's all old Xie's fault. He's too impatient. But don't worry, Chief Ho, we'll still keep our mouths shut. Deng Guang added, we can't not keep our mouths shut. At this moment, Ning Jun and Xiebin's faces were very ugly, especially Xiebin. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Both of you, it's not good to talk too much. If we really get into a fight, none of us will gain any benefits. Ning Jun said, Now, the most important thing is to find out what happened in the City Lord's mansion. Also, we need to capture Zhou Fu. Capture? Ho Rong snorted. He killed so many of my men. You want to capture him? Ning Jun shook his head. that Zhou Fu is still useful. We can't kill him now. However, most of the people Zhou Fu killed were useless people. So what if he killed them? Chen Danian is not. Neither is the Black Queen Guard. Ning Jun nodded. It's my mistake. Chun. He paused for a moment and continued. Chun Danian's revenge can wait. It'll be over soon. Oomph. Then, boom, boom, boom. A series of loud sounds came from outside. The huge sound waves shook the entire Black Mountain stronghold. What's going on? Ho Rong suddenly stood up and reached behind him. He picked up an iron rod that was as thick as an adult's arm. With a cold face, he walked out. Deng Yingguang, Scarlet Blood Hand Xiabin, and soul-sealing sword Ning Jun also followed. Boss, it's back. A Black Mountain stronghold bandit hurriedly ran over. His face was filled with shock as he pointed at the plaza. Boss, 18 black iron coffins fell from the sky and smashed into the plaza. The bandit was so scared that he was trembling. At that time, a few of our brothers were not in time and were smashed into meat paste. What the hell is iron? Ho Rong's eyes widened and he was confused. Iron coffins. Iron coffins. Ho Rong and the other three looked at each other. The atmosphere became heavy. Deng Yingguang and the other two drew their weapons and rushed to the plaza. When they arrived, the plaza was surrounded by people. Everyone had a weapon in hand, and they were looking at the 18 iron coffins on the ground. 5 of the iron coffins had blood seeping out. Seeing this scene, Ho Rong and the others sucked in a breath of cold air. Mother of Asterisk, what the hell is this? Chapter 55. 18 black iron coffins stood at the top of the mountain. There were many patterns engraved around the iron coffin. These patterns formed a strange picture. At this moment, a gray cloud floated in the sky, blocking the sun and casting a shadow. You. Ho Rong pointed at a few bandits in the crowd and ordered, "You guys go and take a look." The faces of the 3 people who were called out were deathly pale. They were so scared that their bodies were trembling. Around them, those who had not been named quickly retreated, leaving the 3 of them empty. Hurry up. Don't dilly-dally like a girl. Ho Rong scolded impatiently. Under Ho Rong's coercion, the 3 of them moved to the iron coffin closest to them. The 3 looked at each other and did not know what to do. Behind them, Ho Rong roared, "Are your knives for decoration? Chop! Chop! Chop the coffin! Chop!" Not only Ho Rong, but the bandits around also shouted, "Chop!" Anyway, they were not the ones who were going to do it, so why not shout? If they did not shout, what if it was their turn? Layers upon layers of pressure surged over, pressuring the 3 of them to the point of suffocation. Panic! Fear! Under extreme fear, the 3 of them broke down. In a frenzy, the 3 of them slashed with their knives. Clang! 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 They were crazy. 1 slash, 2 slashes. The knife light did not stop. Until clang, the long knife broke. Looking at the iron coffin again, there was not a trace of damage. The 3 of them looked at Ho Rong, trembling, like little chicks abandoned in the wind and rain. As time passed, the surrounding people became more and more afraid. 18 iron coffins fell from the sky. Flesh and blood covered the ground, and swords could not hurt them. How could ordinary people accept this kind of strange thing, especially in this somewhat ignorant era? In the Black Mountain stronghold, Ho Rong originally had absolute power, but in the face of people's most primitive fear, death, and the unknown, he could not suppress it. Ho Rong looked at the gradually restless crowd and suppressed the fear in his eyes. He carried the terrifying iron rod and walked toward the iron coffin. "I don't care what kind of monster you are, open for me." In a split second, Ho Rong fiercely swung the steel rod, and the huge force caused the surrounding air to tremble. Boom! A violent explosion rang out, causing everyone's ears to hurt and their bodies to tremble slightly. Creak! Under the attack of the rod, the iron coffin moved back half an inch, and that was all. At this time, Ho Rong was not in a good state either. The huge rebound from the iron coffin made his arms numb. The most serious injury was on his wrist, which was unbearably sore. When the surrounding people saw that the iron coffin was still intact after their leader's attack, they became even more terrified. These people were just ordinary bandits. They had not undergone strict training, nor were they professional. They were not soldiers with strong willpower. Some of the more timid ones had already begun to back away. As long as something went wrong, they would run away. Who is that? Look, there's a person standing on top of the coffin in the middle. What? When did this person come? Who saw it? I don't know. I didn't see anything. Some people who did not notice anything wrong turned their heads to look after hearing these voices. They saw a person wearing a black and gray robe and a ghost mask standing on top of an iron coffin. None of the people present had noticed when this person had appeared. Ho Rong and the others were shocked, but also relieved. As long as it was a human. As long as it was a human, it would be injured, bleed, and die. But ghosts were different. People would always give their most terrifying side to unknown existences. Ho Rong secretly activated the internal strength in his body to relieve the discomfort in his arms. He held the steel rod with one hand, pointed at the ghost masked man, and shouted, "Who are you? What is your purpose in my Black Mountain stronghold?" At this time, there were already people in the Black Mountain stronghold who had died under the iron coffin. They died tragically in front of everyone. Therefore, even if he knew that the ghost masked man was not to be trifled with, Ho Rong still had to bite the bullet. Otherwise, the Black Mountain stronghold would be destroyed today. "What do you want?" A cold female voice came from under the mask. "A woman?" The ghost masked man continued. "A few days ago, we went to the city lord's mansion to do some business and met a little mouse. This hateful little mouse took something that did not belong to him when no one was paying attention. Today, I'm here to take it back." Ho Rong frowned. "Did you get the wrong person?" Then he turned to Deng Yingguang and the others and asked, "Did you go to the city lord's mansion a few days ago?" Deng Yingguang shook his head. "No, we haven't entered the city for some days." Xie Bin and Ning Jun also said that they did not enter the city. Ho Rong looked at the ghost masked man and said, "You heard it too. We didn't enter the city." "Ha ha ha ha. Are you making me laugh?" The ghost masked man laughed mockingly, and his tone was a little impatient. "I don't know who took it, but I know that it is with you. Now, hand it over and let the mouse kill himself. Then this matter will be over." This domineering tone made everyone present feel dissatisfied. Although the iron coffin was strange, the person who spoke was a living person, and a woman at that. In the eyes of these bandits, women had always been the weaker party, the ones who were bullied by them. Now that they were being scolded by a woman, they were naturally angry. These bandits looked at the ghost masked man with a murderous glint in their eyes. In the square of hundreds of people, a murderous aura slowly condensed. This murderous aura was invisible, but made the air heavier. Ho Rong narrowed his eyes and gripped the iron rod tightly. He looked at the ghost masked man and asked, "What are you talking about?" "A painting." "Painting? What painting?" "The Bright King portrait." Ho Rong slowly opened his eyes, and the inner strength in his body vibrated. At this moment, the discomfort in his arm had disappeared, and his wrist was as good as new. "My Black Mountain gang does not have the Bright King portrait. Since you killed your way into my Black Mountain gang without any reason, then you should be prepared to lose your life here." Following Ho Rong's words, Xie Bin, Ning Jun, and Deng Yingguang, who were standing at the back, walked up with weapons in their hands. The four of them stood in a fan shape, surrounding the ghost masked man. Whether the Black Mountain gang has the Bright King portrait or not, you don't have the final say. The ghost masked man was unmoved by Ho Rong's reaction. It was as if he did not see them, or if he did not care. Ho Rong's eyes were burning with anger. He asked in a deep voice, "Then who has the final say?" "Of course, I have the final say." "Arrogant," Ho Rong shouted. Then he waved the iron rod and bent his body slightly. "You sure talk big. I want to know where you got the courage to behave so atrociously in my Black Mountain gang. Die for me." Ho Rong's tall figure suddenly rose into the air. His feet stepped on the iron coffins, and with a flip, he was above the ghost masked man. He raised the iron rod with both hands and smashed it down. The ghost masked man laughed contemptuously. With a bang, he turned into a large cloud of black mist and disappeared. Boom! Boom, boom. A series of explosions sounded in the square. 18 black figures suddenly smashed into the crowd. Ah, my leg, arm, arm. Screams and the smell of blood instantly enveloped the entire gang. The rest of the people turned their heads and saw that the 18 iron coffins had disappeared. Roar! A roar filled with a brutal aura swept through the square. Chapter 56. Bang! Bang! Amidst the heavy footsteps, 18 2-meter-tall refined corpses walked out of the iron coffins. At this moment, Ho-Rong's powerful strike landed on the iron coffin. Boom! With a deafening boom, the iron coffin was sent flying by the rod. Then, with a bang, it smashed into the open space more than 10 meters away. Dust flew everywhere, and the blue stone shattered. After Ho-Rong smashed out with the staff, he used the recoil force to soar into the air again. His feet continued to borrow strength, and he jumped out of the coffin array. After landing, Ho-Rong's face was very ugly. He stared at the iron coffin that was sent flying by him and was in a daze. Before these refined corpses with a faint silver glow on their skin came out of the iron coffin, he used all his strength to hit it, and the iron coffin only moved half a step. Now, after these refined corpses walked out of the iron coffin, he actually sent the iron coffin flying with a single strike. Then how heavy were these strange refined corpses? Ah! A shrill scream sounded, instantly waking Ho-Rong from his thoughts. He hurriedly looked in the direction of the scream. In the crowd, not far away, there were a few black mists, as if they were alive, swimming in the void. These black mists were like black poisonous snakes, either pouncing or entangling the people around them. Without exception, those who were attacked by the black mists felt as if they were hit by strong acid, or like candles under high temperature. Their flesh and blood began to melt. The people around them avoided it like the plague. They were extremely frightened and quickly retreated in the opposite direction of the black mists. Oh my God! Save me! Devil! This is a devil! Don't come over! Don't come over! The black mists were very fast, and in an instant, they cleared out an empty space in the crowd. These black mists entangled and merged with each other. Whoosh! The black mists dissipated. The devil-masked person's figure appeared. Under the mask, a pair of burning green eyes stared at Ho-Rong. Have you thought it through? This is your last chance. Ho-Rong trembled slightly, not knowing if it was from fear or something else. I really don't know what bright king chart is. The devil-masked person let out a cold laugh, and a few black ribbons floated out from her body. The ribbon twisted and twined. It turned into a miniature formation in the void. The formation stood in front of the devil-masked man and slowly rotated. Rays of greenish-black light were emitted. Boom! The green light grew brighter and brighter, turning into a pillar of light that shot into the sky. After the light pillar rose for several hundred feet, it exploded like fireworks. The shattered pillar of light split into several ribbons of light, which continued to entangle and condense into a large formation. It was an enlarged version of the small formation from before. The formation took shape and enveloped the entire Black Mountain stockade. Rumble. The array formation smashed down, and endless clouds fell. Not good, Ho-Rong roared. Although he didn't know what the cloud chi was used for, he knew that the person who released it wanted to kill them all. Stop her! Hurry up! The bandits closest to the devil-masked man raised their knives and looked at him in horror. They didn't even dare to run, let alone go forward. Kill her, otherwise we'll all die. Kill! Ho-Rong shouted as he rushed towards the devil-masked man. When the bandits saw their leader, they suddenly felt a little more confident. They shouted the word kill and rushed towards the devil-masked man with their knives. Boom! At this time, the boundless cloud chi fell. The whole mountain peak shook as if there was an earthquake, and then it quieted down. Ho-Rong, Deng and Guang, and the other three, as well as the bandits, were all frightened by the sudden shaking. They stood in place and looked around with fear. However, the devil-masked man didn't wait for them. The formation is down, you can't get out. Today, I'll let you ignorant ants see the power of the silver-armored zombie guards. Let's kill. Roar. Roars full of killing intent came from the mouths of the 18 silver-armored zombie guards. Not good. Ho Rong and the others suddenly turned their heads and saw the silver-armored zombie guards rushing towards the crowd. Boom, boom, boom. The footsteps, like boulders hitting the ground, seemed to hit the hearts of everyone. Ho Rong glanced at the devil-masked man again. At this time, the devil-masked man had already soared into the air and was strangely suspended in the air. Ho Rong roared angrily and shouted to Dang Guang and the other two, "Kill these silver-armored zombie guards first. Then kill the devil-masked man." Finished speaking, he took the lead and rushed towards the silver-armored zombie guards. Dang Guang shouted while running, "Don't you want to kill that person first?" Ho Rong angrily replied, "Kill my ass. Can you hit her?" Turning his head and looking at the devil-masked man several feet above the ground, Dang Guang also sighed. Unless they had crossbows, they could only watch. Looking at the silver-armored zombie guard again, but these monsters look even more difficult to deal with. Shut up. Ho Rong was very irritated now. He also knew that the silver-armored zombie guards were not easy to deal with, and he knew more than others. After all, he had tested the weight of the opponent. With the support of the huge weight, how terrifying would the palm of the silver-armored zombie guards be? But he couldn't say it out loud, and he didn't dare to say it out loud. If he said it out loud, would Dang Guang, Xie Bin, and Ning Jun be scared and run away? Kill these monsters first, and then kill that evil man, Ho Rong shouted, and with a whoosh, the black iron rod in his hand went out. A silver-armored zombie guard on the opposite side also roared, raising its jet-black claws and swatting over. At the same time, after Dang Guang and the other two saw Ho Rong's action, the doubts in their hearts were reduced a bit, and they also attacked the silver-armored zombie guards. Ho Rong's eyes flashed. The black iron rod in his hand seemed to be strong and fierce, but in fact, it was 30% real and 70% fake. The black iron rod swayed, avoiding the front claw, and hit the shoulder joint of the silver-armored zombie guard. Dang! How was this possible? Ho Rong's eyes widened in horror. He had estimated the strength of the silver-armored zombie guard, but he didn't expect that he still underestimated it. Under the black iron rod's attack, it was as if it hit steel, and the rebound force almost made the black iron rod fly out of his hand. Roar! At this time, the silver-armored zombie guard had already rushed in front of him, and its huge black claws were about to reach his body. Ho Rong's eyes flashed a decisive color, and he suddenly threw away the black iron rod and rolled away like a donkey. He turned over and ran away without looking back. Dang Guang, who was watching from the side, was stunned. What kind of operation was this? Just one attack, and he threw away his weapon and ran away? At this time, the dagger in Dang Guang's hand had stabbed the silver-armored zombie guard's claw. Clang! With a crisp sound, the dagger broke. Dang Guang's eyes widened, and he opened his mouth to say something. However, the jet-black claws directly pierced into his body. Roar! Under the stimulation of blood, the silver-armored zombie guard looked up to the sky and roared, and with a swing of its arm, Dang Guang's body suddenly split into several pieces. Blood, broken limbs, and internal organs splashed all over the sky. On the other side, Red Bloodhand Xie Bin, after colliding with the silver-armored zombie guard, also fell into several pieces. Soul-sealing sword Ning Jun. This person's mind was more meticulous. He was always watching Ho Rong, and after seeing that something was wrong, he flashed, opened up the distance, and flew to the distance. The rest of the silver-armored zombie guards rushed into the crowd, and for a time, screams rose into the sky. Under the slaughter of the silver-armored zombie guards, the number of living people of the Black Mountain Stronghold, which was nearly 1,000 people, was rapidly decreasing. In less than a cup of tea's time, there were less than 10 people who were still breathing. Killing and blood became the main theme here. The ghoul-masked person calmly looked at the tragedy below, and after seeing Ho Rong and Ning Jun escape, she flicked her finger. The two silver-armored zombie guards roared, turned around, and chased. Chapter 57. Damn, I missed the days when I had a GPS in the forest. Zhou Fu sighed helplessly. At this time, the sun had set in the west, and the light in the forest was getting dimmer. Based on the information he got from the Black Mountain bandits, he rushed into the forest alone to look for traces of the Black Mountain gang. Even if he could not fight them head-on, he could still kill a few people and cause some damage. Otherwise, he would not be able to let go. There's a big rock next to the river. Hey, King Big Rock. I can't even see the river. Where am I going to find a rock? CK, Zhou Fu frowned. At this time, he had been wandering in the forest for a long time. He realized that ever since he entered the forest, none of the sceneries he had seen or the information he had received matched what he had seen. Could it be that they lied to me? That can't be right. They asked separately. How could those bandits who were scared to death have such intelligence? Zhou Fu sighed again. He decided to search for a while longer. If he still could not find it, then he would have to go back before the sun went down. Looking up at the sky, Zhou Fu did not continue to go deeper into the forest. Instead, he followed the slope of the terrain and searched horizontally, looking for the landmarks mentioned by the bandits. As time passed, Zhou Fu's patience was worn out. Forget it, let's retreat. I'll come back tomorrow. Just as Zhou Fu turned to leave, a sound came from afar. The other party was very fast, and its direction was Zhou Fu's. Damn, could be a beast? It's not even night yet, and it's so aggressive? Zhou Fu was speechless. From the sound of the movement, the beast was not small and was very strong. Forget it, I'll hide in a tree first. He did not want to fight with a beast in the forest that was about to be shrouded in darkness. Beside Zhou Fu, there was a big tree that needed two people to hug. He bent his knees slightly, and with a burst of strength, he suddenly jumped up and hugged the tree trunk. Then he used his hands and feet. He quickly climbed up. He found a thick branch and sat down on it, leaning his back against the trunk. His hands unconsciously formed a hand seal. The distant rumbling sounds were getting closer and closer. Zhou Fu was also curious as to what kind of ferocious beast it was. If it's a tiger, can I kill it? It was said that the tiger bone wine was a great tonic, and a medicinal wine refined from it had the effect of strengthening bones. Last time, the immovable fundamental seal couldn't be leveled up. It was only after he learned the Iron Bone secret scroll and strengthened his physique that it leveled up. It seemed that the advancement of these cultivation techniques required a certain level of physique. If I make some tiger bone wine to nourish my body, that would be great. Come on, brain axe. Zhou Fu's eyes stared into the distance as the pale golden internal force in his body slowly rotated. As the sound got closer and closer, Zhou Fu's body slowly tensed up until the target appeared. Was a person? And he seems to be seriously injured? It was a man. At this moment, blood was flowing from the corner of his mouth. His left hand was drooping weakly, and his right hand was clutching his left rib. He was running like a madman. Suddenly, the man slipped and fell to the ground. It seemed that the wound was pulled, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Turning around, he sat up with difficulty and leaned against the tree trunk, gasping for breath. A pair of eyes stared into the distance. Whoosh! There was another sound in the distance. In the depths of the forest, a tall figure suddenly rushed out. Zhou Fu raised his eyebrows and looked carefully. This person was also injured. What's the situation? Why are there so many injured people today? This person saw the man leaning against the tree trunk at a glance and grinned. Ningjun, you might as well not be called soul-sealing sword. I think rabbit legs are more suitable for you. You can really run. Soul-sealing sword? Ningjun? The fire of gossip in Zhou Fu's eyes instantly ignited. He was familiar with this scene. Those robberies and murders, or unequal distribution of the loot, were all like this. Bah, Ho Rong, you're still the Deputy General of the Black Wind Army. You've just been a bandit for a while, and you really became a thief. So insidious. Black Wind Army? Deputy General? What the hell? This seemed to be more exciting than robbing someone. After hearing Ning Jun's words, Ho Rong's face changed drastically. He subconsciously turned his head to look, and then he relaxed. He laughed sinisterly. It seems that you, the dog of the dragon supporting guard, don't want to live anymore. Ning Jun scolded. Humph. I can't live anymore, but you, Ho Rong, won't have a good life. The Black Mountain stronghold is gone. Let's see how you're going to report to your superiors. Black Mountain stronghold? Zhou Fu's pupils suddenly shrank. The Black Mountain stronghold was built by the Deputy General of the Black Wind Army. This soul-sealing sword belonged to the dragon supporting guard? These two names. There was something to it. No, the Black Mountain stronghold robbed the Zhou family's things and kidnapped Zhou Ji. Thinking of Zhou Datsai's attitude. Damn, the water here is very deep. Under the tree, Ho Rong's face darkened again. Ning Jun was right. This time he was finished. Countless investments were made to build the Black Mountain stronghold. Now that the plan had just started, suddenly everything was gone. Even if he, Ho Rong, had some ability, he was still a deputy general. If he went back like this, there was only one ending for him, and that was death. Humph! Ha ha! Seeing Ho Rong's face, Ning Jun laughed. Carefree, what are you laughing at? Ho Rong roared. The laughter affected his wound. Ning Jun coughed a few times and spat out blood again. Ho Rong, you actually used me to lure the two silver armor corpse guards to let those monsters break the devil-masked man's array. But so what? As long as you don't die, you will face the devil-masked man and his highness pursuit. Devil-masked man? His highness? Zhou Fu frowned. This F*** involved the royal family. But what the hell is this devil-masked man? It sounds very powerful. And that silver armor corpse guard, the name is really domineering. It seems that this is not a deep water, but a F** abyss. Sigh, I have to quickly improve my strength. My family has been targeted by the royal family. It's going to be troublesome. Zhou Fu sighed in his heart. He felt that the pressure on his shoulders was a lot heavier. His cheap father was in such a hurry to send him away. He guessed that there must be a reason. F***. Sooner or later, I will beat you to death. Zhou Fu's eyes showed traces of hostility. Under the tree, Ho Rong pondered for a while. During this time, no matter how Ning Jun insulted him, he did not say a word back. Slowly, his expression calmed down. His right hand pressed on his chest, as if he had made up his mind. Ning Jun, are you done scolding? If you are, I will send you on your way. This Ning Jun was also a character. When he heard Ho Rong's words, his angry face also calmed down. This series of changes made Zhou Fu, who was hiding in the tree, dumbfounded. He shouted in his heart, a group of old foxes. Ning Jun stared at Ho Rong's eyes and said word by word, that bright king chart is in your arms. Bright king chart. Zhou Fu's eyes widened again. F***. Why did this thing also appear? Ho Rong's expression changed drastically. Then he slowly nodded. So what if it's not here? You're a dead man. It's not good for you to know too much. All right, it's getting late. It's time to go. He slowly walked toward Ning Jun and raised his right hand. Go, I won't send you off. Whoosh. A strong wind blew. The big hand pressed down. Ning Jun laughed sinisterly. F*** off. It's too lonely to be alone on the road to hell. Come with me. He suddenly opened his mouth wide, and a cold light was spat out from his mouth. Whoosh! A ray of light flashed in the dark forest. Bang! Behind Ho Rong, a tree suddenly shook and a leaf fell down. I didn't expect you to have such a move. What a pity. The big hand continued to press down. With a crisp sound, Ning Jun's head was slapped into his chest. After killing Ning Jun, Ho Rong stood up and looked forward. He said indifferently, come out. Chapter 58. Zhou Fu was shocked, and his heartbeat began to accelerate. He lowered his body bit by bit on the tree trunk, not even daring to breathe. Judging from Ho Rong's speed, this person's martial arts were very strong. Just now, with a palm strike, he slapped a person's head into his chest and abdomen, and the head was still intact. The control of strength in this was very amazing. From this, it could be seen that Ho Rong was not to be underestimated. Even though the other party was injured, Zhou Fu did not want to take the risk. He wanted to wait a little longer. Maybe a miracle would happen. Ho Rong waited for a while, concentrating on listening to the surrounding sounds. Still not coming out? If you don't come out, I'll leave. This time, Zhou Fu could see that this guy was acting. Is there really no one? Ho Rong frowned. Suddenly, his expression changed, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Puff, his right hand covered his left shoulder, and his face was full of pain. His right knee bent, and he knelt down. Cough, cough, what a good Ning Jun. Even on the verge of death, if I didn't dodge quickly, I might have to go to the bridge of helplessness with you. Huff, huff, he was panting heavily, as if he was going to fall to the ground and die in the next second. All of this was seen clearly by Zhou Fu on the tree. Seeing Ho Rong like this, not only was he not excited, but he sneered in his heart. Continue acting, I want to see how much more you have in your script. Ho Rong waited for a while, but the surroundings were still quiet. He slowly stood up straight and took a step forward. With a bang, he fell down and fell right next to Ning Jun's body. Huff, huff, what bad luck. Ho Rong cursed in a low voice. He reached out and pushed Ning Jun's body aside, then leaned against the tree trunk. These movements seemed to have consumed a lot of his physical strength. Then, he reached into his arms and took out a piece of cloth. He unfolded it. What kind of magic do you have? So many people want to get you. Seeing the piece of cloth and Ho Rong's words, Zhou Fu's heart skipped a beat. Could this be the chart of the Bright King? Thinking back to Huang Haoyun back then, he said that he had received a piece of cloth and dipped it in tea. When he took it, it revealed a map, which led to the incident at Guiyun Temple. Ho Rong took the cloth and looked at it for a while. He didn't find anything wrong with it. Because of you, I've even sacrificed my life. What's so different about you? The City Lord Mansion protected you so well. I heard that Huang Jia of Heong City was exterminated because of you. Also, the Devil-Masked Man is also looking for you. My Black Mountain stronghold was also destroyed because of you. What exactly is so special about you? With his emotions stirred up, Ho Rong's arms began to exert force, tearing the cloth with both hands. Something strange happened. Under the force of Ho Rong's arms, the cloth remained unscathed. Ho Rong chuckled when he realized this. However, he looked as though he had gone mad. As expected, this is a treasure. But that's not enough. You're definitely more than that. What else? What else? Ho Rong's movements became crazier and crazier. His eyes were bloodshot as he stared at the cloth. Suddenly, poof, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Cough, cough. Ho Rong coughed a few times. His face revealed a painful expression. He looked like he was terminally ill and was about to die in the next second. However, in the next moment, Ho Rong's eyes suddenly widened. So that's how it is. Zhou Fu frowned. In his line of sight, he could only see Ho Rong's front. The chart of King Ming just happened to have his back facing him. Really, he wasn't sure if Ho Rong was faking it or was just acting. Ho Rong laughed for a while and then struggled to stand up. Just as he was about to stand up with one hand on the tree trunk, Zhou Fu took a deep breath. Since he knew that this person was a member of the Black Mountain Bandits and had the chart of King Ming, he definitely couldn't let him go. Even though Ho Rong was acting at this time, Zhou Fu could clearly see that he was injured. Ning Jun's last blow before his death had pierced through Ho Rong. The blood that flowed out had soaked Ho Rong's back. At this time, seeing Ho Rong standing up with the help of the tree trunk, Zhou Fu secretly said in his heart, "This is the time." Boom. The internal strength that was originally slowly circulating instantly became turbulent. Zhou Fu supported himself with both hands and his feet on the tree trunk. He turned over, formed a seal with both hands, and slapped towards Ho Rong's back. Hee, as expected, you still made a move. Ho Rong, who was facing the ground, smiled, and the expression on his face relaxed a little. An unsheathed sword was not scary. What was scary was a sword that had not been unsheathed, but was emitting a shocking, killing intent. Just as Zhou Fu was about to pounce, Ho Rong straightened his back, raised his head, and said, "Little mouse, so you're here." As he spoke, he raised his palms up. Under the influence of the unique inner diameter, his hands turned crimson red. Bloodkill first style charge. An astonishing, killing, intense sword into the sky. From bottom to top, it met Zhou Fu's palm print. Boom! For hands collided. A force exploded between the two of them. The force of the rebound shook the dead branches and leaves on the ground, and the two of them also retreated. Damn, this person's cultivation is really terrifying. After landing, Zhou Fu only felt that his arms were a little sore and numb. He was very clear about how terrifying his strength was from that move just now. On the other side, Ho Rong was not calm. He originally thought that Zhou Fu, who was hiding in the dark, would not have a very high cultivation. After all, seeing that he was so seriously injured, there was only one reason why he did not dare to make a move, and that was because his cultivation was limited. Who knew that the first move of this fight would make his arms hurt so much, but he did not dare to show it. Boy, if that's all you've got, you can sleep here today. Ho Rong laughed grimly, but he was ready to turn around and run. He placed the chart of King Ming on his chest, and there was nothing left for him to stay here. Well, that's all I've got, but you can't leave either. Zhou Fu laughed. From the test, just now, his opponent obviously could not cause him any harm. Since that was the case, how could he let his opponent go? Thief, take another seal from your grandpa. Boom! Dust flew under Zhou Fu's feet, and his internal strength exploded, creating a small pit on the ground. His figure appeared in front of Ho Rong in an instant, and his hands formed a seal, raised high, and smashed down like a sledgehammer. Zhou Fu's eyes widened, and his face was dignified. With this move, the image of the Buddha in his mind seemed to appear in front of his eyes. His lips opened slightly, and he said in a clear voice, "Suppress." An aura arose from Zhou Fu's body. Just as Ho Rong was about to block it, the word suppress caused his mind to shake violently. By the time he reacted, the seal had already descended. Bastard! Ho Rong's eyes were wide open. At this time, he no longer cared about the injuries in his body and crazily urged his internal strength. Sanguine Six-style backwater. However, he only had time to block his chest with his hands. Bang! A dull sound like a sledgehammer hitting a drum sounded. A strong force passed through Ho Rong's internal strength, breaking his injured left arm and penetrating his internal organs. He vomited blood and was sent flying, crashing into a tree trunk a few meters away. Whoosh! Several pieces of cloth flew, and one of them was very special. It was the chart of King Ming. Just now, Zhou Fu had hit Ho Rong's chest, and then the seal turned into a claw, tearing apart his opponent's clothes. Is this the chart of King Ming? Chapter 59. Zhou Fu looked at the cloth in his hand. There was a blood-red pattern on the cloth, probably because it absorbed Ho Rong's blood. The first thing that came into view was a huge Buddha statue. Its face was hidden, and it sat upright on a lotus platform. Below the Buddha statue, there were 5 small images. Beside the small images, there were some strange words. These words looked like scribbles, and Zhou Fu could not understand them. But it was okay, he had a cheat. Ding! Detected martial arts scripture of the wise king. It is of the same origin as the immovable seal. Will you fuse it? Zhou Fu was stunned when he heard the notification. He wondered, is there such a thing? Fuse it. The support page appeared in front of Zhou Fu, and the horizontal bar of the immovable seal disappeared and was replaced by the scripture of the wise king. What was more interesting was that the scripture of the wise king had 2 levels. It was not level 10, and there was a plus sign at the back. Zhou Fu was overjoyed. He did not expect such a good thing to happen. Level up. Ding. Scripture of the wise king has been successfully leveled up. Current level, 10. At the same time, 6 skills appeared behind the scripture of the wise king. Wise King Visualization Image. Effect unknown. Wise King's Immovable Seal. Activates chi and blood. Strengthens constitution. Proficiency, 628-1000. Wise King's Demon Subduing Seal. Strengthens attack. Proficiency, 01000. Wise King's Demon Subduing Seal. Vibrates attack. Proficiency, 01000. Wise King's Aquarius Seal. Strengthens body. Proficiency, 01000. Wise King's Fearless Seal. Heals, removes negative effects. Proficiency, 01000. Description: only when all 5 seals are fully trained can the scripture of the wise king be leveled up. I'm rich, I'm rich. Zhou Fu was so excited by the explanation of the skills that his body trembled. This was the most comprehensive martial art he had ever obtained, especially when the original owner of the scripture of the wise king, Guyun Temple, was destroyed. Even if others knew that Zhou Fu had practiced the martial arts from the scripture of the wise king, no one would find trouble with him. However, just as Zhou Fu was overwhelmed with excitement, Ho Rong, who had fallen to the ground in the distance, sat up. He looked at Zhou Fu's slightly trembling body and laughed heartily. See, this extremely strange laughter instantly awakened Zhou Fu from his foolish laughter. What's going on? Could it be that this guy has been beaten silly by me? Kid, do you not understand? Zhou Fu's face froze and turned ugly. Was she mocking him for being illiterate? Ho Rong was still laughing wildly. So what if you get it? He still couldn't understand it. Besides, do you have the guts to investigate? Do you dare? Ha ha! Indeed, Ho Rong was right. However, all of this was based on the fact that Zhou Fu was unable to learn the Wisdom King scripture. No matter how niche your language is, even if it's a language that has been extinct for centuries, so what? I have a cheat. I already have a cheat, and you still want to talk about knowledge? Thinking of this, Zhou Fu suppressed the laughter in his heart. He walked to Ho Rong's side. He raised his palm, just as he was about to form a seal and slap down. However, he hesitated for a moment. Since the others were about to die, he should let him die happily. Yes, I don't understand, but you can go on your way. As soon as he finished speaking, he slapped down. Bam! Blood splattered everywhere. Zhou Fu retreated in a flash. As expected, my control of strength is still lacking. Just now, he wanted to imitate Ho Rong's previous slap and slap the enemy's head in. But now, even though he had entered, Ho Rong's head had cracked open. Zhou Fu shook his head. His stomach churned, and he almost vomited. I'm leaving. He turned around and was about to leave. Zhou Fu looked at the piece of cloth in his hand. At this time, the pattern on it had begun to dissipate. Forget it, I'll leave it. Who knows if there's any bad luck with it? Zhou Fu shook his head, threw down the piece of cloth, and then left in a hurry. Whoosh, pairs of green eyes lit up in the dark forest, and a low roar sounded. Then, the figures of the beasts rushed out and directly pounced on Ho Rong and Ning Jun's corpses, and then ate heartily. Just as the two corpses turned into white bones, a few black gas thicker than the night swam over. Oh, look, the beasts' senses were extremely sharp. They felt a fatal threat from the black gas. Boom! More than a dozen beasts scattered and disappeared in the blink of an eye, leaving only two eerie white bones on the ground. The black gas entangled and condensed, and the figure of the ghoul-masked person appeared. She turned her head and looked at the piece of cloth that recorded the scripture of the wise king. The piece of cloth rose into the air and flew into the ghoul-masked person's hand with a whoosh. She grabbed the piece of cloth and flipped through it for a while. Hee, I got the scripture of the wise king! ! However, just as the ghoul-masked person was about to leave, a calm voice sounded. Are you from the Incorp sect? Who is it? A sword light suddenly lit up in the dark forest. Boom! Along the way, it cut down countless trees and stopped 10 steps in front of the ghoul-masked person. It was a man in a white robe with a long sword hanging from his waist. There was a faint smile on his handsome face, but he had an aura that kept people 1,000 miles away and looked down on everything. The left guard of the dragon's supporting guard, Jian Yi. When Zhou Fu walked out of the forest, the sky was already dark. Good heavens, is this the dark night without light? It's so bright. There were no clouds in the sky tonight, and the bright stars hung in the sky. The full moon was like a huge silver plate, emitting endless light. At this moment, Zhou Fu suddenly had the mood to write poetry. Well, I didn't know the moon. I called it the white jade plate. A white jade plate. Zhou Fu, who was riding on the horse, suddenly fell into deep thought. He had never seen what the white jade plate looked like. If he remembered correctly, he seemed to be a rich second generation. The Zhou family was one of the wealthiest families in Heian City. As the eldest son of a Zhou family, how could he not have seen the white jade plate? F***CK, your head is full of gold and silver. Can't you have a little more ambition? After cursing to himself, Zhou Fu's mood suddenly dropped. He kicked the horse's belly and rushed towards the Liu family manor. Without his watch and mobile phone, Zhou Fu had never been able to tell the time. Hence, when he returned to his room, he did not know the exact time. He called for a maid to prepare some bath water, washed up, changed his clothes, and went to bed. In the next few days, Zhou Fu returned to his peaceful life. He practiced martial arts in the day, complained to Liu Zhong in the afternoon, and continued to practice martial arts at night. In these peaceful days, the cooldown of the secret scroll of Ironbone was up, and his strength was enhanced again. It was worth mentioning that the side effects of this enhancement were alleviated with the help of the Akalanatha's immovable seal. He did not even cry out in pain, which was a pleasant surprise. By the river, the morning breeze was slightly chilly. Zhou Fu looked at the pile of rocks in front of him with satisfaction. Just a moment ago, there was a huge rock half the height of a man here, but now it was broken. He clenched his fist and felt the surging power in his body. Compared to when he just left the city, he was at least 5 times stronger. Zhou Fu said with satisfaction, "It's been 13 days since I left the city. It's time to go back and take a look." Chapter 60. After saying goodbye to Liu Zhong, Zhou Fu got on the carriage and headed back to Heiyang City. On the way back, Zhou Fu kept thinking about one thing. He was thinking about how to persuade his father, Zhou Datsai, to move the Zhou family to Ning'an. Although the Zhou family's status and wealth would decrease after moving to Ning'an City, it would still be safe. The Black Mountain Bandits incident had already implicated the royal family. How could a merchant that was targeted by the royal family have a good ending? There was no other possibility for this kind of incident. After all, there was so much bloody history to prove. Damn, my Zhou family is not even the most powerful family in Heiyang City. Why would we be targeted by the royal family? Ever since he knew that the Black Wind Bandits were from the military and had the royal family behind them, Zhou Fu was very puzzled. Just as Zhou Fu was puzzled, the sound of fighting could be heard from afar. It was a huge commotion. "Young master, there's a situation." The leader of the guards rode his horse to Zhou Fu's carriage and asked for his opinion. Zhou Fu was thinking about how to persuade Zhou Datsai when he got back. He was not in a mood to watch the show. Judging from the sound, it's not on the main road. Let's speed up and go through it. "Yes, young master," the leader of the guards replied, turned around and shouted, "Speed up." After the increase in speed, the carriage that Zhou Fu was in also began to sway, which made his already irritated mood even worse. Zhou Fu sat in the carriage with his legs crossed. His hands formed a seal, and his fingers moved quickly. Wisdom King's immovable seal. Once the seal was formed, the pale gold inner chi and the thick blood in his body started to move. His restless mind slowly calmed down. Boom! The sound of the inner chi exploding could be heard nearby. "Ha ha, little bitch, let's see how long you can struggle. If I catch you, Zhou Fu opened his eyes angrily. The seal in his hands changed and turned into the Wisdom King's immovable seal. Suddenly, a cool feeling spread between his eyebrows. His anxious mood calmed down once again. At this moment, the frivolous and despicable voice sounded again. This time it was very close. "Little bitch, I heard that you gave my blade steps to someone else. And it's a man? Blade steps?" Zhou Fu's heart skipped a beat. Could it be you? Wasn't this girl very strong? Why did it sound like he had been abused? Boom! A loud sound came from the front, and the roars of the people and the neighs of the horses could be heard from the carriages. "Young master, we can't leave. Our convoy has been stopped by someone." Zhou Fu was so angry that he almost laughed. F***CK. How could a pedestrian be so arrogant on the road? There were no traffic lights here. He lifted the curtain and alighted from the carriage. In front of the convoy, a man and a woman were facing each other. From the side of her face, that woman was Miss Yu from the Lotus Fragrance Court. The man held a long saber in his hand while Yu held a long sword. Furthermore, there was a knife mark between the motorcade and the man. The man didn't seem to notice the convoy. His eyes were fixed on Yu, and he kept talking trash. Zhou Fu walked forward and looked at the knife mark. It was less than a finger deep, so it shouldn't have been able to cut him. After he had an idea, Zhou Fu pointed at the man and scolded, "Are you King blind? It's fine if a piece of trash like you is killed by my carriage, but if my carriage is damaged, can you King afford to pay for it? As soon as he said that, everyone fell silent. In the convoy, the people accompanying them looked at Zhou Fu in shock. In their impression, Zhou Fu wasn't like this. Although he couldn't be humble and polite, he wouldn't curse like this. After you, heard Zhou Fu's voice, she also turned around. Her expression was half stunned and half dumbfounded. The man was different. He was completely dumbfounded. Are you scolding me? Zhou Fu looked at the man as if he was an idiot. He looked at the man from head to toe, shook his head, and said regretfully, "So you're an idiot. You dare to scold me?" The man's body trembled, and his face turned pale. "Do you know who I am? Believe it or not, I'll kill your entire family. TSK, you don't even know who your father is, and you want to kill my entire family? Do you think you can find your way?" A few guards in the convoy laughed. "Young Master Zhou, this person is the last disciple of the Bloodblade sect's leader, Shun Jie." You looked at Zhou Fu with a complicated expression. Her gaze also looked like she was caring for an idiot. "Young Master Zhou." Shun Jie frowned and looked at Zhou Fu. He muttered, "You're Zhou Fu? The eldest young master of the Zhou family? Good boy. So you're the one who got my blade steps. This is really... If the heavens want you to die, you have to die. Ha ha." Shun Jie looked up and laughed. When he found out that you had given the blade steps to someone else, he had people investigate and finally locked on a Zhou Fu. After all, there weren't many people who could go to the Lotus Garden. While recently, only Zhou Fu went there alone. If it wasn't him, who else could it be? After laughing for a while, Shun Jie stopped and looked at Zhou Fu. His gaze was like looking at a person who was about to die. "I was thinking that after I took care of this little bitch, I would go and massacre the Zhou family. I really didn't expect that you would run in front of me today. Ha ha." You held her sword with one hand. Her face was pale and her breathing was uneven. There was also a bloodstain on her white clothes. She turned her head to look at Zhou Fu and shook her head. Then, she turned her body to the side and made space for him. With this move, Shun Jie could immediately attack the Zhou family convoy. At that time, she could take advantage of the situation to escape. This action was seen by Zhou Fu. He didn't feel uncomfortable, but he felt that the flame in his heart was even hotter, and he wanted to vent it. This flame had been in his heart for a few days. If he didn't remember wrongly, it probably appeared after he leveled up this secret of Iron Bone. At that time, he didn't care about it. But in the past 2 days, this flame had already begun to affect him. Usually, there was still the bright king scripture to suppress it, but now, it had already exploded. Zhou Fu walked out of the convoy and instructed the people behind him, "All of you, retreat 1 mile." Yes, as the convoy retreated, there were only 3 people left on the official road. Shun Jie laughed and said, "You brat, don't tell me you want to spar with me? Ha, interesting, really interesting." You remained silent. She took a few steps back, indicating that she had already given up the battlefield. Zhou Fu's gaze moved between the two of them, then returned to Shun Jie, who was laughing nonstop. As expected of a country bumpkin, you have never seen the height of the sky and don't know how big the earth is. Shun Jie turned around and faced Zhou Fu. "Fine, then I'll kill you first, then take care of this bitch." Then, Shun Jie laughed contemptuously. "Didn't you also learn the blade steps? Then I'll let you see what the real blade steps is. I forgot to tell you, the blade steps that bitch gave you is incomplete." Ha ha, aren't you happy? Don't tell me you really think that bitch taught you the blade steps out of kindness? Ha ha, a country bumpkin is a country bumpkin. Fine, let me end your sad life. Before he finished speaking, Shun Jie soared into the air, but his long saber remained in place. Country bumpkin, remember in your next life, don't casually accept other people's good intentions. Before I die, I'll let you see what the real blade steps is. Oh, wrong. Its real name is Bloodblade Steps. You still don't know this, right? Ha ha. Kill. Chapter 61. Shun Jie displayed the Bloodblade Steps in an ostentatious manner. He flipped in the air and kicked out with his right leg. Under the support of his inner strength, his leg was like a blade as it chopped towards Zhou Fu. Zhou Fu widened his eyes as he looked at the incoming kick. He only dodged when the wind hit his body. Boom! The unique inner strength of the blade steps exploded under his feet. Zhou Fu's figure instantly appeared 5 steps behind him. At this moment, Shun Jie's foot left a small hole where Zhou Fu was standing. He looked strangely at Zhou Fu, who was not far away, and asked, "This is the blade steps you learned?" There was no contempt or ridicule, but this tone made Zhou Fu feel even more uncomfortable. Yes. Shun Jie was speechless as he sighed. "I don't know if I should call you a genius or an idiot." "All right, how long has it been since you got this cultivation technique?" Zhou Fu thought for a moment and said, "Less than 2 months." When he said this, even Yu Er, who was preparing to run away, looked at him with a shocked expression. "You're an idiot. You can cultivate to this level in such a short time with a problematic cultivation technique. You're a genius. Since you can cultivate to this level, don't tell me you didn't notice the problem with this cultivation technique." Shun Jie felt that it was inconceivable that there was such a person in this world. Footwork, be it fierce or gentle, all of them required one to be able to move in all directions. He could see that there was a problem with Zhou Fu's blade steps. It had too much momentum, but not enough roundness. Forget it. Remember to keep your eyes open in your next life. Bloodblade steps took another step forward as a sharp blade-like gale rushed toward Zhou Fu. Sad? Zhou Fu had an indescribable feeling in his heart. When he saw Shun Jie attacking again, he formed a seal with both hands. Wisdom King Seal. Inner strength surged as Zhou Fu's body seemed to be inflated. In the blink of an eye, it was a size bigger. However, it didn't seem bloated. Instead, it emitted a valiant and dignified aura. At this moment, Shun Jie had already arrived in front of Zhou Fu. His right leg was like a huge blade as it chopped down on Zhou Fu's shoulder. Boom! The energy exploded, rolling up the gravel and dust, blowing in all directions. How is this possible? Shun Jie looked at the unscathed Zhou Fu in shock. Bursts of heart-wrenching pain came from his right leg. Zhou Fu released the seal. He felt that he had made a mountain out of a molehill. Even if he didn't form a seal, the other party wouldn't have been able to break through his defense. Level 30 bronze armor, level 20 iron bone secret scroll, and level 20 iron bone secret scroll, as well as a skill that strengthened his constitution and strength, made Zhou Fu's body even more ferocious than a ferocious beast. Impossible. This is impossible. It was impossible for a country bumpkin's body to be so hard. Shun Jie's eyes were crimson red. He no longer had the arrogance from before. Instead, he was filled with madness. Kill! Kill! His 2 legs carried a strong and ferocious force as they continuously smashed toward Zhou Fu. Zhou Fu stretched out a hand and waved it casually as if he was swatting a fly. Every time he swatted, he would be able to deflect the kick to the side. After a dozen kicks, Zhou Fu began to get impatient. A loud smack was heard. Zhou Fu grabbed Shun Jie's right leg and scolded, "Have you had enough?" These childlike words instantly tore Shun Jie's self-esteem to shreds. You deserve to die." Zhou Fu shook his head and suddenly swung Shun Jie up. With a boom, he smashed Shun Jie onto the ground. The surging force, as if plowing the ground, scattered the inner strength in Shun Jie's body. The muscles on the right side of his body were also scratched. Cough, cough. Blood spurted out from Shun Jie's mouth. His eyes were unfocused as he stared blankly at the sky. "You actually practiced the bronze armor art to such a level." The sharp scream was filled with disbelief. Zhou Fu turned his head and looked at Yu Er. He grinned. "I almost forgot about you." Yu Er was startled and turned to run. Looking at the white figure running away, Zhou Fu sighed. "It's the wrong blade steps. It's still blade steps." Boom! With a surge of inner strength, Zhou Fu's figure instantly disappeared. In the air, several illusory figures flashed past. After 5 breaths, Zhou Fu arrived behind Yu Er. "Miss Yu Er, we haven't seen each other for a long time. Why don't you stay for a chat?" A cold voice rang out beside Yu Er, scaring her to the point that her entire body trembled. "Young Master Zhou, I didn't offend you. Offend? Maybe. At this moment, his feelings towards you were somewhat contradictory. On the one hand, he was grateful that you had given him a cultivation technique. On the other hand, he resented you for giving him a fake cultivation technique. He was somewhat conflicted. No matter what, 2 months ago, Zhou Fu was still an honest and dutiful ordinary person. Things like killing decisively were something he had only imagined in his heart when he read novels or watched movies. Since you didn't offend me, stay first. He stretched out his right hand. With the support of his inner strength, his palm could cover half of Yuer's head. Zhou Fu, Yuer shouted with a voice full of anger. Do you really think you're invincible? Since that's the case, die for me. Yuer suddenly turned around, and a silver sword light rushed towards Zhou Fu's face. Facing the sword light, Zhou Fu did not dodge and formed a seal with one palm. Bright King Demon Suppression Seal. Zhou Fu had always been puzzled by the description of the seal in this seal. Today, he had the opportunity to give a try. Bang, bang, bang. The biting cold sword light was either slashing, cutting, or stabbing. Zhou Fu's sleeve was torn into pieces in the blink of an eye. Suppress. The demon suppression seal crashed into the sword light and hit Yuer's arm that was holding the sword. With a cry of pain, a long sword flew out of her hand into the air. After a head-on collision, the two of them flipped and landed on the ground. Yuer covered her right shoulder with her left hand and looked at Zhou Fu in shock and anger. Zhou Fu looked at Yuer in confusion. There didn't seem to be any changes after this seal. Humph. I'll remember today's palm. Goodbye. Yuer's figure flashed and changed from stillness to movement. She changed direction and quickly fled. Zhou Fu was about to chase after her when he saw Yuer fall to the ground. What's going on? Although he was puzzled, Zhou Fu still went to Yuer's side and grabbed her. Bastard! What kind of vicious technique is this? My inner strength can't be used. With the struggling Zhou Fu returned to Shun Jie's side. Looking at the two eyes that were filled with hatred, Zhou Fu was at a loss for a moment. What should he do next? Seeing that Zhou Fu didn't speak, the two of them didn't speak either. In this strange atmosphere, the scene quieted down. Not far away, the Zhou family's carriage heard that there was no movement here, and the head of the guards came over with 2 guards. Young master, Zhou Fu scratched his head. He wanted to say that it was all an accident. He didn't know why, but there was a ball of fire in his heart, and he wanted to vent it out. Then, he cleaned up the 2 people lying on the ground. After that, the anger in his heart dissipated by more than half. After the anger dissipated, Zhou Fu was at a loss. How should he deal with these 2 people? Hearing the head of the guard question, Zhou Fu thought for a moment and said, How far is it from here to Heong City? If we ride a horse, it will take about an hour, which was slightly more than an hour. Leave a horse for me. You guys go back first. The head of the guards hesitated for a moment and nodded. Okay, young master, please be careful. After the Zhou family's carriage left, Yuer spoke first. Zhou Fu, how do you plan to deal with us? Yes, how do I deal with them? Seeing Zhou Fu's hesitation, Yuer was secretly happy. She said, How about this? You let me go and we'll pretend that nothing happened today. Zhou Fu looked at Yuer in surprise. As long as you let me go, in the future, if I have any secret manuals, I will. Yes, yes, yes. Shun Jian nodded at the side. Brother Zhou, if you let me go, nothing happened today. I won't even tell anyone that you're a survivor of the body refining hall. Zhou Fu raised his eyebrows. Body refining hall. Chapter 62. Zhou Fu stared at Shun Jie and asked, What's the body refining hall? Shun Jie was stunned by Zhou Fu's question. You don't know? Should I know? Hurry up and tell me. Be careful, or I'll beat you up. Yuer, who was lying on the other side, spoke. Shun Jie, don't think about it. Young Master Zhou obtained the body refining hall's martial arts by accident. Shun Jie's eyes widened, and he turned to look at Yuer with a look that said, Are you kidding me? Little b asterisk tch. Do you think I'm stupid? With young Master Zhou's cultivation, you're telling me that he obtained it by accident? Zhou Fu was a little unhappy. He gave each of them a kick, but it was very gentle. What are you 2 doing? Explain to me first. Shun Jie turned to look at Zhou Fu. Although he was kicked, he was not angry. He asked anxiously, "Young Master Zhou, you're practicing the bronze armor technique and the secret manual of iron bones, right?" Seeing Zhou Fu's shocked expression, Shun Jie continued, "The martial arts that young Master Zhou learned were unique to the body refining hall. Unfortunately, more than 20 years ago, the imperial court sent out an army and a large number of experts. They fought for 3 days and 3 nights before they destroyed the body refining hall." The imperial court? Why is it the imperial court again? Did I have an ill-fated relationship with the imperial court? Zhou Fu was a little speechless. Do you know why the body refining hall was destroyed? Well, Shun Jie was a little hesitant. I don't know about these secrets. I know a little about them. Zhou Fu and Shun Jie both turned to look. Yu Er's face was a little proud. How do you know? Shun Jie asked in surprise. Why can't I know? Oh, I almost forgot. It's not strange that the Wonderful Desire sect knows about this. Many of the high-ranking officials in the imperial court should have people from the Wonderful Desire sect, right? Wonderful Desire sect? Zhou Fu sized up Yu and thought to himself, how wonderful is this figure? Hearing Shun Jie's words, Yu Er's expression turned ugly. She snorted and turned to Zhou Fu and said, "Young Master Zhou, look, I can't run now. Can I change my position?" Zhou Fu didn't mind such a request. He picked up the 2 of them and found a quiet place. The 3 of them sat down. "All right, you can speak now." Yu Er nodded. "There's a senior in my sect. Back then, she sent a message saying that this matter seems to be related to the supreme cultivation method of the body refining hall." Supreme cultivation technique? This name was a little impressive. Yu Er explained, cultivation methods are divided into heaven, earth, black, and yellow. Heaven rank cultivation methods are also known as supreme cultivation methods. At that time, there were rumors in the Jianghu that the body refining hall supreme technique had the effect of prolonging one's life. Therefore, the emperor of the current dynasty made the body refining hall offer up their technique, and even used a technique of the same level to exchange for it. But the body refining hall didn't agree, and that's what happened afterwards. Shun Jie, who was at the side, laughed. Yu Er's face darkened. "What are you laughing at?" Shun Jie shook his head. "Nothing. Only you would believe such a reason." "What do you mean?" Shun Jie shook his head and looked at Zhou Fu. He asked, "Young Master Zhou, are you interested in making a deal? Also, you don't have to worry about how to deal with the 2 of us." Zhou Fu looked at Shun Jie in surprise. At this moment, it was as if he had changed into a different person. "Deal? What deal?" Shun Jie chuckled and used his eyes to signal Yu Er, who was beside him. "Surname Shun, what do you mean?" Nothing much." Zhou Fu said to Shun Jie. "I'll give you a chance. I hope you can grasp it." Then, he walked to Yu Er's side and knocked her out with a slap. Shun Jie nodded. "Don't worry. I won't disappoint you." 2 hours later, Zhou Fu left on his horse. Looking at Zhou Fu's back, Yu Er's face darkened. She stared at Shun Jie angrily and gritted her teeth. "Shun Jie, you're the last disciple of the Bloodblade sect. You actually have the heart training goo with you." Shun Jie shrugged. His internal injuries were better now, and he had taken some pills. He was much better now. "Why can't I? Look, didn't I save both of our lives? Although we're being controlled by others, it's good that we're alive. There's only hope if we're alive." With that, he sighed. His luck today was really bad. He had almost lost his life. "Then should I thank you for saving my life?" The sharp and sarcastic words entered Shun Jie's ears. He smiled indifferently. "Whatever you say, I wanted to find some trouble for you, but I didn't expect to get myself involved. Life is really strange." "Oomph. Right? What did you discuss with Zhou Fu?" Shun Jie's lips curled up. "You want to know? I'm not telling you. Forget it if you don't want to tell me." Yu circulated her inner strength. Every time she felt something strange in her heart, her mood would become worse. "Then tell me, who are you trying to trick by preparing this heart training goo?" "It can't be me, right?" Shun Jie said. "It doesn't matter who it is. The fact is that the child goo is in our bodies." "Can't the child goo be taken out?" "Fairy you. If you're capable, you can try." This shameless tone made you want to kill him with a single sword strike. "Okay, I'll remember it." I didn't expect you to be such a treacherous villain. Villain, Shinjia smiled proudly. I entered the sect when I was 12 and became the last disciple of the sect master when I was 14. Now, for years have passed, and only 3 of the top 10 disciples of the Bloodblade sect are left. I, Shunjie, am the second best. My status is also the second best. Yu Er's expression was very ugly, but she had to admit that Shunjie was a character. The Bloodblade sect was not a kind place. The internal strife was very cruel. Also, Fairy Yu, as one of the holy maidens of the Wonderful Desires sect, how dare you call others villains? We're all 1,000-year-old foxes, so let's not talk about who's slutty. Hee goodbye. Shunjie picked up the long saber on the ground and turned to leave. Yu looked at the figure that was getting smaller and smaller. She touched the sachet that she secretly crushed and scolded softly. He's quite alert. Whoosh, the sound of clothes fluttering could be heard, and 2 white figures landed. I'm late. Please forgive me, miss. Yu waved her hand. Forget it. Let's go. Yes. Zhou residence. Zhou Datsai looked at his big son with a headache. He rubbed his temples and asked, Didn't you go to Ning'an? Half an hour ago, Zhou Fu arrived at the Heong city gate and met his family's convoy. So, they returned to the Zhou residence together. I was robbed by the Black Mountain gang on the way back, so I rested at the Lu residence for a few days. Zhou Fu drank a mouthful of water and continued. During those few days, the more I thought about it, the more uncomfortable I felt. I wanted to take revenge. What? Zhou Datsai's voice suddenly rose. But seeing that Zhou Fu was safe and sound, it did not seem like he had attacked the Black Mountain gang, so he was relieved. Unexpectedly, Zhou Fu chuckled. Father, I seem to have gotten into big trouble this time. Looking at Zhou Fu's expression, Zhou Datsai's relieved heart skipped a beat. He asked, What did you do? I killed the leader of the Black Mountain gang, Ho Rong. Clink, the teacup fell to the ground. Zhou Datsai looked at Zhou Fu in a daze. All right, there was a dragon guard who died at the scene. Dragon guard? At this moment, Zhou Datsai's expression was extremely strange. Chapter 63. In the following period of time, under Zhou Fu's confused, shocked, and puzzled gaze, Zhou Datsai recounted how he had killed Ho Rong after some artistic embellishment. After speaking, Zhou Fu was silent for a while before continuing. Father, this matter was too sudden. I didn't go find cousin. At this time, Zhou Datsai came to his senses and extended his hand to stop Zhou Fu from continuing. No matter. Everyone has their own fortune. If something really happens to him, I'll just have my second son have another child. These cold and emotionless words stunned Zhou Fu. He stared at his father with wide eyes. This was the first time he felt so unfamiliar. This unfamiliarity was not only for the current Zhou Fu, but also for the 10-odd years in his memory. Zhou Datsai looked at Zhou Fu with a faint smile and asked, What's wrong? Do you feel that your father is very cold-blooded? No, it's just, I'm not used to it. Zhou Datsai shook his head. What do you know? After Zhou Ji went missing, did you see your second son worried? His father wasn't worried. So why are you worried? Really? Zhou Fu was startled and instantly felt very strange. That's right. Ever since Zhou Ji disappeared, there didn't seem to be any changes in the Zhou manor. No, it was just like that. Father, is there something in the family that they're hiding from me? In response to Zhou Fu's question, Zhou Datsai sneered. Hiding from you? What's there to hide from you? Don't think too much. I'll tell you what you need to know. Don't ask what you don't need to know. All right, since you're back, you can rest for a few days. After a while, I'll send you to Ning'an. Also, the matter of the Black Mountain stronghold has nothing to do with you. Don't talk too much. Go. Seeing Zhou Datsai's resolute attitude, Zhou Fu stood up rather reluctantly. All right then, I'll go first. In the following 5 days, Zhou Fu lived a self-disciplined life. He chose the dragon-embracing stance for meditation. Every time he completed the stance, he could clearly feel his qi and blood become stronger and his strength slowly increasing. His fist technique was still the mountain-breaking fist. It was easy to use, mainly because he had no other choice. As for Rolling Stone Palm and Eternal Spring Force, they had been replaced by Wisdom King Scripture. It was not Zhou Fu's fault. After all, the feeling that the Wisdom King scripture gave him was too strong. As a result, he spent every afternoon and night cultivating the Wisdom King scripture. Moreover, he discovered that the pale golden inner strength in his body, which was originally only circulating in one meridian, had now begun to open up a second one. Not only that, but with the breakthrough of his inner force, the proficiency of all the seals in the Wisdom King scripture had also increased. This discovery made Zhou Fu overjoyed. Life is full of surprises. As long as you work hard enough, there are even shortcuts. At this rate, the Wisdom King scripture will be able to level up in another month or so. When that time comes, just as Zhou Fu was indulging in his fantasy, a coachman ran in. Young master, there's a letter for you outside." "Letter?" Zhou Fu took the letter in confusion. As he opened it, he asked, "Who's the messenger? Where is it?" "I'm not sure who wrote the letter, but I heard from old Wang, who delivered the firewood to our residence, that someone gave him a letter early this morning and asked him to bring it to you." Zhou Fu unfolded the letter and read it with a frown. "It's him? This kid is really fast. Immortal Residence Tower." As Zhou Fu got off the carriage, the restaurant's coachman came over with a face full of smiles. "Yo, young Master Zhou, you haven't been here for a while. Please come in. Are you still in the private room today?" Zhou Fu smiled and said, "I'm here to meet a friend today. Young Master Zhou's friend is our guest. I'll arrange it for you now." He went up to the third floor and entered the private room that they had agreed on. "Young Master Zhou, please have a seat." Shenjie's face was full of smiles as he welcomed Zhou Fu in. The two of them chatted for a while, and delicious dishes were served one after another. After the dishes were served, Zhou Fu did not hold back and started to eat in big mouthfuls. He ate very quickly, as if he didn't need to chew, and kept stuffing food into his stomach. 1 plate, 2 plates, 3 plates, until all the dishes on the table disappeared. Zhou Fu acted as if nothing had happened and casually wiped his mouth. Only the dozens of empty plates on the table showed the fierceness of the battle. Young Master Zhou is really a good appetite. From the beginning to the end, Shen Jie only ate 2 chopsticks of food. Then he watched Zhou Fu eat. Slowly, he felt that he was a little full. Zhou Fu patted his flat stomach and said with a smile, "It's true that young people eat a little too much. All right, where are my things?" Shen Jie took a black cloth package from the side. After opening it, there were 2 books inside. Shen Jie took out the 2 books and handed them over. "Young Master Zhou, these 2 books are cultivation methods that I carefully selected." "Oh." Zhou Fu stretched out his hand and took them. "Xiaoyang Palm, Illusionary Moon Movement Technique." Shen Jie said, "Young Master Zhou, don't use the blade steps if you can. After all, there are too many traces of the Bloodblade sect in it. It won't be good if someone finds out. It will cause the Bloodblade sect to hunt you down. Also, this Illusionary Moon Movement Technique is one of the best movement techniques that the Bloodblade sect has collected. When you practice it to a high level, you'll be able to step on the snow without leaving a trace. The most precious thing is that this movement technique has a very high concept." Concept! At this moment, Zhou Fu felt like a fool. Although he had a cheat, he knew too little. "Yes, concept." Shen Jie said, "It's just like the mountain-breaking fist that can be found on the streets. Its limit is to shatter stones. If you want to go one step further and break a mountain like its name, it is impossible. Breaking stones is its limit. Of course, if you're very strong, you can use the mountain-breaking fist on the surface, but in reality, it is your own ability and not a cultivation technique." He paused for a moment to let Zhou Fu digest the information. "Let's take my Bloodblade steps as an example. It's mainly used to complement my Bloodblade sect's Bloodblade true body. Only by complementing each other can I unleash even greater power. If I were to use the Bloodblade steps alone, it would seem rather mediocre. As for the Illusionary Moon Movement Technique, it contains the concept of being illusory yet real. It is not something that ordinary cultivation techniques can compare to." Zhou Fu looked at the proud Shen Jie and asked, "Since you said it so well, why don't you practice it yourself?" Shen Jie was stunned and explained, "Because I learned the Bloodblade true body. Although the illusionary moon movement technique is good, it is not as suitable for me as the Bloodblade steps. Zhou Fu understood. The Bloodblade steps and Bloodblade true body were equivalent to 1 plus 1 greater than 2. In terms of the Bloodblade steps alone, it might not even be 1. Zhou Fu cursed in his heart. A family with an inheritance was indeed different. What about this one? Xinjie looked at the Xiaoyang palm and smiled. This one is even more extraordinary. In terms of preciousness, it is even above the illusionary moon movement technique. Oh, this time, Zhou Fu was curious. Xinjie smiled and said, I believe young Master Zhou has always been focused on cultivation and does not care about these details. Today, I will explain it to you in detail. Chapter 64. If it wasn't for the fact that Xinjie was doing well in the Bloodblade sect, not only did he have the strength and opportunity, but he also had a glib tongue. With just a few words, Zhou Fu, who was originally asking questions, instantly became a listener. Who wouldn't be confused? Who wouldn't be happy? Zhou Fu was also a human, so of course he was happy. He smiled and said, Please enlighten me. Xinjie quickly said, I don't dare, I don't dare. However, there was a hint of joy in his eyes. Cultivators divide the realms into body refining, strength training, bone forging, blood changing, and exuvia. Body refining is to train the body and let the body produce inner strength. The amount of inner strength, as well as its quality, are all related to the body. Strength training is when the body produces inner strength. We have to continuously strengthen the inner strength so that it can reach every part of the body and connect the 12 meridians. At this time, it's called great success of strength training. After great success of strength training is bone forging. You need to train the inner strength into the bones and use it to temper the bones, making the bones stronger. Speaking up to this point, Xinjie smiled and said, The body refining hall's iron bone secret scroll corresponds to this stage. Next is blood changing. When the bones are tempered to a certain level, it will promote changes in the blood. I don't know the specifics. After all, I haven't reached this stage yet. However, I know that every time I change my blood, it is a transformation from the inside out. Every time, Zhou Fu grasped the main point. There are 3 times blood changing. Oh, please continue. These basic things were too important for Zhou Fu. The last one is the exuvia realm. This realm is already different from ordinary people. My master, the Bloodblade sect's master, is in the exuvia realm. Listening to Xinjie's introduction, Zhou Fu was a little confused. According to the current situation of the Wisdom King scripture, he should be strength training and had just opened the 2nd meridian. However, with the help of the supplementary technique, he also cultivated the Iron Bone Secret Scroll, which seemed to be bone forging. If there was another technique that could change blood, wouldn't he be able to cultivate all 3 realms at the same time? Xinjie pointed at the Xiaoyang palm and said, This cultivation technique can help the cultivator to condense their internal strength, strengthen their qi and blood, and strengthen the body. Not only that, but the offensive power of this palm technique was also not to be underestimated. After mastering it, each of his palms would carry a scorching aura. Ordinary people would be crippled after just 2 palms. With young Master Zhou's divine power and this Xiaoyang palm, it is simply like adding wings to a tiger. Haha. After laughing for a while, Xinjie mysteriously said, Most importantly, is this Xiaoyang palm the most suitable for establishing one's foundation? Set a foundation? It was another word that hit Zhou Fu's blind spot. Yes, set the foundation. The higher the level of the martial arts, the more emphasis was placed on the foundation. The deeper the foundation, the greater the possibility of improvement in the later stages. This Xiaoyang palm was precisely the top-level martial arts that established the foundation. Using this cultivation method to cultivate inner strength and then connecting it to the meridians, it would be like a raging inferno when attacking. It was extremely terrifying. For a genius like young Master Zhou, this cultivation method was the most suitable. Zhou Fu also grinned. These words were good, and he liked hearing them. So what if he had a cheat? Even if he had a cheat, he was still a genius. Otherwise, why didn't others have a cheat? All right, then I'll accept it. Young Master Zhou, you're too polite. This was originally prepared for you. After receiving the cultivation method, Zhou Fu did not want to stay any longer. He had not finished the homework that he had set for himself today. It's getting late. I'll take my leave first. Take care, young Master Zhou. After Zhou Fu left, an old man with gray-white hair and beard suddenly appeared. He was dressed in gray-white clothes, and his hair and beard were also gray-white. Greetings, young master. The Bloodblade sect assigned the young geniuses in the sect as guardians. They all addressed the person they were protecting as young master. These people were all very powerful. What do you think of this person? Shen Jie asked with a faint smile. In my opinion, this Zhou Fu is just a country bumpkin. However, it's his good fortune that the young master has taken a liking to him. Taken a liking to him. Shen Jie smiled and did not continue to talk about Zhou Fu. He changed the subject and asked, "Do you know what I gave him?" The sword servant's heart tightened. As a guardian, he was only responsible for Shen Jie's safety. He could not interfere in anything else, or rather, he should know unless the young master asked him to. Hearing Shen Jie's question, the sword servant's mind raced. He did not know how to answer, and a layer of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. Seeing that the sword servant did not answer, Shen Jie did not mind. He answered his own question. I gave him 2 secret manuals. One of them is Xiaoyang Palm. The name stunned the sword servant. He was shocked. He lowered his voice, but his tone was full of uncontrollable shock. Xiaoyang Palm? Yes, Xiaoyang Palm. It's the palm technique that's ranked in the top 3 among the mystic level techniques in the Bloodblade sect. Young master, isn't it a little inappropriate to do that? The sword servant was a little flustered because this cultivation method was too important. Even in the Bloodblade sect, it was not something that anyone could learn just because they wanted to. Young master, it's not that I'm being nosy, but no matter how talented that Zhou Fu is, you can't give him this technique. If the people in the sect find out, at this point, the sword servant trembled all over and quickly shut his mouth. At this point, he finally understood. After beating around the bush for so long, it turned out that the young master was telling him not to talk too much. He fell silent. Shen Jie looked at the sword servant with a smile and changed the subject again. He asked, "How's the news about the heavenly fragrance jade silkworm?" There's already news. However, the heavenly fragrance jade silkworm hasn't matured yet. We'll have to wait at least another 2 years, the sword servant answered. 2 years? There's no hurry. Shen Jie nodded. Right. Do you think the rumor that the heavenly fragrance jade silkworm can induce the cultivating heart goo is true? The sword servant's heart tightened again. He shook his head and said, I don't know about that. Haha, forget it if you don't know. Let's make some preparations and see if we can get a share of this Heiyang city. Yes, I'll go make preparations then. After the sword servant left, Shen Jie stared blankly at the bustling crowd outside the window for a while. He then took out a black jade box from his chest pocket. He opened it and took out a black pill. He crushed the wax coat and revealed the dark blue pill body. He raised his head and swallowed it. An icy aura rushed straight to his heart and then wrapped around a tiny worm. He muttered to himself, Xiaoyang Palm has established its foundation. I wonder how big the cultivating heart goo will be. Ding. Phantom Moon body movement has leveled up successfully. Current level, level 10. Proficiency level, 01000. As the pleasant notification sounded, Zhou Fu's legs trembled. His muscles and meridians were stretched, and his legs looked slimmer than before. My skin is fairer too. Zhou Fu lowered his head and rolled up his trousers, looking at his legs. After the sequelae of leveling up disappeared, he lifted his legs. A feeling of lightness rose in his heart. This isn't bad. It's more comfortable than sword steps. At the same time, his understanding of phantom moon body movement rose in his mind. This body movement technique was suitable for long-distance running and small-scale movement. For long-distance running, the emphasis was on breathing and rhythm, as well as endurance. For small-scale movement, the emphasis was on agility and speed. Zhou Fu's body swayed a few times. There was a hint of an illusion on his body. Then he looked at Xiaoyang Palm. He was not in a hurry to learn this technique. At this time, his mind was still replaying the matter of foundation establishment and force training. If I use wisdom king scripture to establish my foundation. Chapter 65. The appearance of the new cultivation method only made Zhou Fu's days more plentiful. Every night, the vicinity of Zhou Fu's courtyard could be said to be off-limits. Under the moonlight, there were a few braziers in the courtyard. In the middle of the courtyard, a white figure kept flashing and moving within a radius of 10 feet. From afar, it looked like a ghost in white was trapped in the middle of the braziers. It kept struggling and bumping around. How could the timid servants withstand this? Zhou Fu was too lazy to explain. In his eyes, increasing his proficiency was the most important. Although Zhou Fu didn't mind the matters in the courtyard, Zhou Datsai was having a headache. 7 days later, Zhou Datsai called Zhou Fu into the study room. Kid, although I know you're practicing martial arts, can you do it during the day? Do you know what's been going on in the residence recently? The servants are all saying that your courtyard is haunted. It was better a few days ago. You knew to light a brazier. What's going on these 2 days? You don't even light a brazier? An old man in the residence was almost scared to death by you. Zhou Fu chuckled. Don't worry, Dad. I'll practice during the day from now on. Oh, right. Didn't I ask the residents to make a courtyard for me to practice martial arts? Why isn't there any movement? After a few days of hard work, Phantom Moon movement technique was leveled up to level 20 by Zhou Fu. After leveling up, the difficulty of increasing his proficiency increased by a lot. Previously, he could increase his proficiency by more than 200 points in 2 hours. Now, it was only a little more than 100. Something that could be done with hard work now needed a month to level up. Therefore, Zhou Fu could only add it to his daily missions and slowly grind it out. Zhou Datsai rolled his eyes. Why are you still making room? Didn't you say that you want to move to Ningyan? We've been busy recently. Move to Ningyan? Zhou Fu instantly widened his eyes. He really didn't expect that he could persuade Zhou Datsai to move. One must know that this meant that the Zhou family would give up their connections in Haiyang City and their shop business. This was a huge loss. Dad, when did you become enlightened? You actually agreed to move. Zhou Datsai rolled his eyes in annoyance. What are you talking about? What do you mean by enlightened? According to some of the things you've told me in the past few days, I've sent someone to take a look. The Black Mountain stronghold is no more. It was burned to the ground. At this point, Zhou Datsai took a deep breath and slowly exhaled, calming himself down. On their training grounds, there are over 1,000 burnt corpses. The tragedy of the scene is indescribable. At this moment, a trace of fear flashed across Zhou Datsai's face. He looked at Zhou Fu and said, "You're a lucky kid. You're worthy of the name I gave you. If that day after that, you had gone to the Black Mountain Stockade to look for Zhou Ji, perhaps your father would have had to send off his son." Upon hearing this news, Zhou Fu's heart skipped a beat. Although he was very confident in his own strength, and even had the courage and confidence to barge into the Black Mountain stronghold, when it came to killing over 1,000 people, that was simply unrealistic. Sighing, Zhou Datsai rolled his eyes at his son again and said, "You kid, don't think that just because you learn some martial arts, you'll rush into things on a whim. In the path of cultivation, there's always a mountain higher than the one before. There'll always be some old seniors. You have to have a respectful heart. It's not shameful to be a coward. At least there's hope when you're alive." Upon hearing this, Zhou Fu sized up Zhou Datsai strangely. "Father, do you also know martial arts?" "I don't know shit. These are the principles of life. You'd better remember them well." After all this time, he was preaching. No wonder it sounded so strange yet familiar. I understand. Then, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first." Zhou Datsai waved his hand weakly. He felt that ever since Zhou Fu started practicing martial arts, his brain had not been very good, although it was not much better in the past. "Scram. Be quiet for the next few days. Something happened in the city, and it's not very peaceful. If you have nothing to do, don't wander around. In a month or so, we'll be leaving." "Okay, I got it." Out of the study, Zhou Fu was still muttering. "Something happened? Not very peaceful? How is it not peaceful?" After a few steps, he met the butler, Old Ma. Zhou Fu called out to him. Uncle Ma. Old Ma was stunned and quickly said, Young master, you're too serious. What's the matter? Has anything happened in the city recently? The city. Old Ma thought for a moment and said, There have been several murder cases in the city recently. The authorities are investigating. Murder cases? Zhou Fu frowned. If it was just a murder case, then Zhou Datsai would not have mentioned it. However, since it was mentioned, there must be a problem. Zhou Fu continued to ask, Are there any characteristics of these murders? Characteristics? Yes. Speaking of this, Old Ma's face became pale and ugly. It's just that the thief is particularly cruel and can be said to be inhumane. Every time he killed a person, he would empty the person's internal organs and cut the body into pieces. Blood splattered everywhere. I heard that several officers who handled the case vomited. Officers vomited? Was it that cruel? Zhou Fu nodded. He guessed that it was done by a cultivator with a perverted hobby. 3 days later, Zhou Fu, who was sitting cross-legged, trembled. In his body, the pale golden internal force ran through the second meridian. As the meridian was connected, his chi and blood also boiled. A feeling of soreness, itchiness, and pain came from all parts of his body. Damn, I haven't leveled up yet. What's going on? The strange feeling was really unbearable. Zhou Fu got up. Crack, crack. With the sound of bones cracking, Zhou Fu's figure instantly grew bigger. He was originally 8 meters tall, but now he had grown another notch. Coupled with the exaggerated muscles on his body, he exuded a fierce aura. As his body grew larger, the negative statuses on his body also disappeared. Instead, it was a feeling of smoothness. It was like waking up naturally in the morning after the rain. Facing the morning sun, he took a deep breath, and his whole body was full of energy. Zhou Fu raised his hand and struck. Whoosh, a strong wind rolled up. He opened his eyes wide in excitement. At this moment, he clearly felt that his strength and chi and blood had increased by as much as 3 levels compared to before. If he met a seriously injured Ho Rong at this time, he was confident that he could kill the other party with 1 punch. As for Ho Rong in his peak state, he had never seen him and didn't know. I really want to test how strong I am. At present, Zhou Fu only knew that his strength was great and his chi and blood were very strong. But he didn't know how strong he was. There was no reference standard. This is equivalent to walking in the night with silk clothes. After sighing for a while, Zhou Fu was worried again. There was no other reason than his size. What should I do? I've only broken through the second meridian, and I've already grown half a head. If I have to wait until I've broken through the 12th meridian, won't I become a monster? Just as he was worrying, his mind suddenly moved. In Zhou Fu's sea of consciousness, the Buddha's shadow became clearer. Its hands were forming hand seals. He looked at it carefully. It was the Wisdom King's fearless seal. Zhou Fu's fingers moved quickly, and the Wisdom King's fearless seal was formed in an instant. A trace of coldness spread from between his eyebrows. Oh, this feels like I'm wearing tights. Zhou Fu's body slowly returned to its original size, but he didn't feel very good. Forget it, can I? A feeling of palpitations suddenly appeared. He covered his chest and walked out of the room. In the courtyard, Zhou Fu looked up at the night sky. Suddenly, his eyes widened. This is Chapter 66. In the dark sky, a giant shadow of a Buddha appeared. It was like an enlarged version of the Buddha in Zhou Fu's mind. The face of the Buddha was very clear. It was majestic and compassionate. A gust of wind blew, and the trees and flowers in the yard swayed gently. But in Zhou Fu's mind, there seemed to be a sigh. It was as if he was helpless and regretful. While Zhou Fu was still in shock, the illusory figure in the night sky suddenly shattered, turning into countless specks of light. It was like fireworks after a brilliant explosion, slowly disappearing. That thing, what is it? Zhou Fu stared at the dark sky in a daze. Although he didn't know what just happened, but in his mind there was a feeling, a bad feeling. Heiang City seems to have changed. Something is going to happen. What is going on? What is happening? At this time, Zhou Fu was very frustrated. It was as if there was a ball of fire in his mind. The blood in his body was also becoming restless. Boom! It was a loud noise. The loud noise was heard throughout the entire Haeong city. Boom! 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 Then there was a series of explosions. There was fire in the sky. That direction. It seems to be the Haeong City Ancestral Temple. The Haeong City Ancestral Temple. It was said that when Haeong City was built, the temple was built first. Then Haeong City was built. There was a statue of a black tortoise in there. The color of the fire doesn't seem right. Zhou Fu focused his gaze and saw that the bright red flames seemed to be covered in a layer of blood-red color. Roar, roar, the roar of a beast could be heard in the wind. At this time, the entire Haeong City was boiling. The sound of drums and gongs could be heard everywhere. Shouts of fire could be heard one after another. Young master. The servant girl in the yard ran out of her room in a panic. When she saw Zhou Fu standing in the corridor, she quickly walked over. Young master, what happened? Is there a fire? Zhou Fu looked at the servant girl who was terrified and said, It's okay, no need. Rumble. Without waiting for Zhou Fu to finish speaking, a flame suddenly rose not far from Zhou Fu's courtyard. That is Wang Feng's courtyard. Zhou Fu's heart sank. He hurriedly said, Go out and find someone to meet up with. I'll go take a look. Phew, in an instant, Zhou Fu's figure turned into a shadow and disappeared. The young maidservant quivered and ran out of the room. When Zhou Fu arrived at Wang Feng's courtyard, there were already many people surrounding it. At this moment, the servants of Zhou Mansion were running around with basins in their hands. The housekeeper, Old Ma, was directing the firefighting. Seeing Zhou Fu rushing over, Old Ma said, Young master, be careful. The fire is not small. Nodding his head, Zhou Fu looked around, but he didn't see Wang Feng. Thus, he asked, Uncle Ma, where's Wang? Consecrata? Consecrata Wang. Old Ma looked at Zhou Fu in surprise and explained, Consecrator Wang has left Zhou Mansion for a few days. He said that he wanted to go back to his sect to treat his injuries. Treat his injuries? Zhou Fu thought for a moment and thought to himself, could it be that he was injured by your last time? At this moment, another group of people rushed over. Get out of the way! Get out of the way! The water dragon is here. The group of people dispersed in an instant. 2 water wheels rushed over and stopped in front of the door. A few thick pipes were pulled out by the servants who were yelling. Splash! A few water columns gushed out and crashed into the fire. Zhou Fu, who was standing at the side, clicked his tongue in wonder. This thing looked quite powerful. What's going on? A familiar voice sounded. Zhou Fu turned around. He saw Zhou Datsai rushing over under the protection of a few black-clothed guards. Actually, Zhou Datsai didn't need to come over for this kind of thing. However, the place where the fire happened was the consecrator's courtyard. Fuer, why are you here? Zhou Fu replied, I saw that Consecrator Wang's courtyard was on fire, so I came over to take a look. Zhou Datsai nodded and sighed. Fortunately, no one lives in the courtyard anymore. In the courtyard, the flames were getting bigger and bigger. The sparks that burst out continuously rushed into the sky. Waves of heat rushed in all directions, blowing people's faces red. A strange feeling emerged in Zhou Fu's heart. He suddenly stood in front of Zhou Datsai, his eyes glowing with a faint golden light. Fuer, what's wrong? This sudden action stunned Zhou Datsai. Zhou Fu held the demon suppression seal with both hands and kept looking around. Hearing Zhou Datsai's question, he slowly said, I don't know, but it feels wrong. Boom! There was a loud bang. In the courtyard, the burning house collapsed with a loud bang. A huge heat wave and sparks rushed in all directions. Be careful. The house collapsed. Get out. Get out first. The sudden incident made the scene a little chaotic. Boom! The ground in the courtyard suddenly exploded, and a gray shadow rushed out. G-A-J. An ear-piercing sound came from the shadow, scaring the servants out of the courtyard. Ghost! Mother! Save me! Housekeeper Old Ma's face suddenly changed, and he scolded, Don't panic! Don't panic! Retreat slowly. Guards! Where are the guards? At this time, the guards also hesitated. They looked at the thing that was constantly hovering in the void and screaming, and they didn't dare to go forward. They clenched the hilts of their swords, and their eyes were filled with fear. Zhou Fu whispered, "Father, you go first." Zhou Datsai rejected. "If I leave now, this group of people will go crazy. Do you believe me?" Facing the fear of the unknown, the first thing that came to everyone's mind was to save their lives. Secondly, they needed to find their backbone. And Zhou Datsai, as the helmsman of the Zhou family, had accumulated power for a long time and naturally became the backbone of the people. If he panicked at this time, these people would definitely fall into extreme fear, and then they would go crazy. Zhou Fu thought about it and thought of the reason, and he also cursed in his heart. "Father, where's our family's consecrator?" "Yes, where's our consecrator?" Zhou Datsai's heart sank, and his face turned ugly. "Don't worry about that. Let the people retreat first, and then find a safe place to stay. That's the most important thing." At this time, there were still a few people who had just put out the fire in the courtyard. Zhou Fu's heart was burning with anxiety. If it wasn't for Zhou Datsai behind him, he would have rushed in and thrown those people out. The gray shadow fell and floated 3 feet above the ground. With the help of the fire, a person's face could be vaguely seen. It was a man, and his eyes were glowing red, and his body was surrounded by gray fog. The fog continued to tumble, occasionally revealing the bodies below. "What the hell is this thing?" Zhou Fu stared at the monster. A mournful roar came from the gray shadow's mouth. "Not good." Everyone's heart tightened, and they all looked at the gray shadow. "Whoosh, dodge!" Zhou Fu roared, but it was too late. The gray shadow suddenly pounced on a servant who couldn't dodge in time, and the fog instantly wrapped around the person. "Ah!" Screams came from the gray fog. "Little Fan Bao." Shocked and angry voices came from the crowd. Those who were close to Fan Bao frantically moved away from him, using their hands and feet, rolling and crawling. At the same time, they kept shouting in horror. "Oh my God! A ghost is killing people! A ghost is killing people! Run! Run!" Chapter 67. After the crowd dispersed, everyone looked at Fan Bao, who was shrouded in the gray fog. The screams inside had stopped, and the scene was strangely quiet for a moment. "What do we do now?" "I don't know. Do you want to go over and take a look?" Fan Bao is usually a good person. "Do you want to die?" "Then what do you think we should do? Do you want to invite a mage over to take a look?" "Look my ass. Where can we find a mage in the middle of the night?" "A master is fine too. Can you leave the city?" The scene was a little chaotic for a moment. Zhou Fu frowned and pondered for a moment. Suddenly, he said, "Bring me a stick." As soon as he said this, the scene was silent. When the crowd saw that the person who spoke was Zhou Fu, it was as if they had found a pillar of support. A clever servant ran out and soon ran back with a stick. "Young master, the stick you asked for." This was not an ordinary stick, but a long stick used for martial arts. Zhou Fu took the long stick, glanced at him, then nodded and walked over. At this moment, everyone was looking at Zhou Fu. When he was 3 steps closer, Zhou Fu raised the long stick and poked at Fan Bao. With a soft bang, the long stick stopped and touched Fan Bao's body. No! Through the touch of the stick, Zhou Fu felt as if he had touched a hard rock and not some soft flesh. He withdrew the stick and turned around, holding one end with both hands. Although Zhou Fu did not know how to use a stick, he still knew how to hit people. The long stick swung. "Open for me." The body of the stick whistled and smashed down. The whistling sound in the air made the people not far away shudder. Bang! A black arm stretched out from the gray fog and grabbed the long stick before it smashed down. Seeing such a scene, Zhou Fu was excited, and the blood in his body began to boil. Ever since his strength had increased, he had always had the idea of fighting a big battle. "Let me see what kind of monster you are." Zhou Fu looked at Fan Bao, who was surrounded by gray fog, and said excitedly, "Crack!" The long staff broke. It was Zhou Fu who broke it with a single push of his arms. All of a sudden, the surrounding people were startled. After seeing that Zhou Fu's weapon had been destroyed, everyone looked at the person who had delivered the baton. The other party almost cried. "I'll go find Master." After saying that, he turned around and ran. On the field, after breaking the wooden stick, Zhou Fu threw a punch. Roar! After Zhou Fu moved, the fog around Fan Bao's body suddenly dissipated, revealing Fan Bao, who had changed greatly. At this moment, its exposed skin had turned dark gray, and there were traces of blood on it. Its eyes abruptly opened, revealing a pair of pitch-black eyes. At this moment, Fan Bao no longer looked like a human except for his human form. With a roar, it pounced on Zhou Fu like a wild beast. A pair of pitch-black claws clawed at Zhou Fu. Boom! The fist and the claw collided, and the energy exploded. Their bodies shook, and then they fell to the ground separately. As a result, Zhou Fu was even more excited. This was 80% of his strength. He did not expect this thing in front of him to have something up its sleeves and be on par with him. Good. Very good. Again. Boom. The energy exploded, and Zhou Fu used his most familiar blade steps. The blood and qi in his body boiled, and there was a faint heat rising outside of his body. The blade steps was too fast. Before Fan Bao could react, it was sent flying by a punch. Fan Bao's flying figure fell to the ground more than 10 steps away, and then rolled for a distance. After sending Fan Bao flying, Zhou Fu scratched his head. I need to change my bad habit of using the blade steps when I'm agitated. At this moment, Fan Bao, who had fallen to the ground, jumped up. The bloody marks on its face glowed faintly, making it look particularly ferocious. Roar! It roared like an enraged beast, and black fog appeared on its two pitch-black claws. With a whoosh, it quickly crossed the distance of more than 10 steps, and its 10 sharp claws slashed down like 10 sharp knives. Facing the attack, Zhou Fu did not dodge and punched out with both fists. Bang! At the moment of impact, the ground under Zhou Fu's feet suddenly exploded. Then, 10 cold lights slashed down, and Zhou Fu's sleeve were shredded into pieces by the rolling black fog. After Fan Bao landed, Zhou Fu rushed to the opponent's center line, and in the whistling wind, he punched out with both fists. Boom! Boom! After a series of attacks, Zhou Fu suddenly felt refreshed. The essence of the mountain-breaking fist, the magical power technique of the mountain-breaking fist, was actually used in every punch. The strong and fierce punches continuously bombarded, and with a crisp crack, a large part of Fan Bao's chest caved in. Die! Boom! Pale golden inner strength surged into his fists, and with the support of the mountain-breaking fist, the overbearing fist energy went through Fan Bao's chest, and his back swelled up, and he flew out and fell into the sea of fire. Ding! Mountain-breaking fist has broken through. An unknown martial art has been created. The notification sound shocked Zhou Fu, who had just left the battle. Damn, that scared me to death. He opened the support interface, and the place where the mountain-breaking fist used to be was gone. Unknown martial art, fist technique, specialty. Fist technique attack is strengthened by 1 level. Cooldown time, 10 days. Would you like to rename it? Give it a name? Zhou Fu felt a little annoyed, as he hated naming things the most. Back then, when he thought a name for a long time, it was still notified that it already existed, and it was very uncomfortable. After hesitating for a while, Zhou Fu said in his heart, Fist technique, mountain breaking. Ding! Fist technique, mountain breaking, naming successful. Seeing that unknown martial art was replaced by fist technique, mountain breaking, Zhou Fu suddenly felt very proud. Damn, this is considered a self-created martial art, right? Now, who dares to say that I'm not a genius? A cheat like genius is still a genius. After feeling good, Zhou Fu felt a sense of emptiness and the coldness of being at the top. He realized that there was no one for him to test his martial art. Isn't this like walking in the dark? Looking at the sea of fire that was still burning, he suddenly missed that monster. If it didn't boom, flames were everywhere. A figure rushed out from the sea of fire. Roar! A familiar roar sounded. At this moment, Zhou Fu was suddenly moved. He looked at Fan Bao, who had landed with sparks on his body. Zhou Fu said in his heart, "You scared me to death. I almost thought you were dead. If you were dead, Who would I find to test my martial art? However, before Zhou Fu could make a move, a commotion came from behind him. Fua, a familiar voice sounded. Without turning around, Zhou Fu knew that Zhou Datsai had arrived. Slightly leaning to the side, while guarding against Fan Bao, he looked at Zhou Datsai. At this moment, Zhou Datsai also saw Fan Bao, and his appearance gave him a fright. Then, he saw Zhou Fu's appearance. His clothes were torn, and his sleeves were gone. Using the light of the fire, his strong arms were exposed in the air. Fu, quickly come back, it's dangerous. Zhou Datsai shouted, and then said to the consecrator on the side, I'll have to trouble Consecrator Wu to make a move. Wu Jianya, Zhou family's consecrator, was invited by Zhou Datsai after Wang Feng was injured. For this person, Zhou Fu had only seen him twice. This was the second time. Wu Jianya nodded and looked at Fan Bao with contempt. He seemed to be used to Fan Bao's appearance. It's just a low-level Yin corpse that was possessed by a Yin spirit. This kind of small matter is just a piece of cake for me. Chapter 68. Zhou Fu narrowed his eyes and looked at Wu Jianya. What a boastful person. Under everyone's gaze, Wu Jianya stepped on the ground and soared into the air. It was as if he was stepping on the clouds and flying with the wind. He had the demeanor of an immortal. This is an old immortal. Yes, an old immortal. The voices from the crowd were naturally heard by Wu Jianya. The corner of his mouth unconsciously twitched. No matter what realm he was in, being praised was always a happy thing. Wu Jianya came to the top of Fan Bao's head. Die. He pressed down with one hand. Layers of mist visible to the naked eye gathered, and an icy blue light appeared. Whoosh, a cold wind blew down. Fan Bao suddenly raised his head. Before he could do anything, frost began to condense around his body. Wu Jianya pressed down with his palm. Crack, crack. The frost turned into ice crystals and froze Fan Bao. Then, with a bang, he exploded into countless ice crystals. They sparkled in the fire and then disappeared. He died just like that? Zhou Fu was stunned. What was this? What kind of method was this? After killing Fan Bao, Wu Jianya's figure turned and landed where he was standing before. The method of an immortal. This is an old immortal. Oh my God, our consecrator is actually an immortal. Amidst the words of praise, a faint smile appeared on Wu Jianya's face. Patriarch Zhou, the matter has been settled. I will go back first. Zhou Datsai cupped his hands and said, Consecrator Wu, take care. The crowd instantly opened up a path, and Wu Jianya strode away. Until Wu Jianya's figure disappeared, the servants were still talking about the immortal's deeds. Zhou Datsai nodded to Zhou Fu and then left with the guards. At this time, the butler Olma shouted, What are you all standing there for? Put out the fire. Yes. Put out the fire. Quick. Zhou Fu returned to his room and lay on the bed with his clothes on. His mind was in a mess. What happened tonight had a great impact on him. First, why did the Buddha's shadow that covered the sky appear, and why did it collapse? The ancestral hall of Haiyang City was burned down. Why would there be beast roars? Could it be, as the legend said, that there was something suppressed under the ancestral hall? Then what was the spirit that possessed Fan Bao? In the end, why was the palm strike that Wu Jianya used to kill the Yin spirit so powerful? It's so F***ing difficult for me. Zhou Fu lay on the bed, tossing and turning. Question marks kept appearing in his mind. Why don't we go to Consecrator Wu's place tomorrow? As soon as this thought popped up, Zhou Fu dispelled it. Thinking back to the first time they met, Wu Jianya didn't know why he was targeting Zhou Fu. Now, Zhou Fu really didn't want to go and find the other party. Moreover, even if he was willing to go over, the other party might not necessarily want to see him. Forget it. There's always a way out. He comforted himself. I'll ask my father tomorrow. The next day, after breakfast, Zhou Fu went to Zhou Datsai's study room. Where is he? Not only was there no one in the study room, but there was also no one in the courtyard. From what Zhou Fu knew, Zhou Datsai was an old homebody. He would usually stay here and rarely go out. Since there was no one, Zhou Fu turned around and left. When he reached the entrance of the courtyard, he bumped into Old Ma, the head butler of Zhou Mansion. Zhou Fu asked, Uncle Ma, Where's my father? Old Ma replied. Young master, early this morning, your father was called away by the government officials before he even had breakfast. The government officials again? Yes. This was not the first time this happened. Zhou Datsai was called away for the Huangjia tragedy in Heiyang City and the fire in the governor's mansion. Zhou Fu nodded helplessly, indicating that he already understood. Just as he was about to leave, the sound of footsteps rang out. He turned around and saw Zhou Datsai walking towards him with the guards in black from last night. Seeing Zhou Fu, Zhou Datsai asked curiously, "Huh? Why are you here so early in the morning?" No one knew his son better than his father. Even though Zhou Datsai did not talk much with Zhou Fu, but he knew his son's temperament. He would not visit without a reason. Yes. Let's talk inside." Zhou Datsai entered the study room and sat on the chair. He took the tea from the maid and took a big gulp. Then he asked the servant to leave. He looked at Zhou Fu and asked, "Tell me, why are you looking for me?" "Father, can you tell me more about consecrated Wu?" "Mr. Wu," Zhou Datsai smiled and said, "Last night, after you saw Mr. Wu fight, you were jealous of other people's martial arts, right?" Hee. Zhou Fu responded with a silly smile. "Well, it's okay to tell you in advance," Zhou Datsai said. "Mr. Wu is the foreign affairs emissary of the giant whale in Ningguan City. Because of some matters, I invited him to the Zhou family to be our emissary for a while." "Giant whale?" Zhou Fu asked. "Yes, giant whale." Zhou Datsai nodded. "Do you know the Red Sea Gang?" "Yes, I know them. They're from our gambling house." "Yes, that's them. The Red Sea Gang's headquarters is also in Ningguan City. You'll know when you get there." Ningguan City. Ningguan City again. At this time, Zhou Fu suddenly had a yearning for Ningguan City. Seeing Zhou Fu's expression, Zhou Datsai knew that his son must be thinking about it. "Okay, you know what you need to know. Go back first. We'll go after a while." "All right, don't run around for a while. Just stay at home." Hearing that Zhou Datsai was starting to chase him away, Zhou Fu stood up and said, "Okay, then I'll go first." Back at his residence, Zhou Fu began to discipline himself again. Yesterday's battle with the possessed Fan Bao had allowed him to make substantial progress in his fist technique and obtain a powerful passive effect. This gave him confidence in the even more mysterious Wisdom King scripture. "I've opened 2 meridians. I'll work harder and try to open 3 meridians before I go to Ningguan City and complete my foundation." Back then, Xinjie from the Crimson Blade sect had explained to him that after using the inner strength of a technique to open 3 meridians, the inner strength would improve the human body and allow the body to better adapt to the technique. It was also known as the foundation. In the training stage, one needed to open 12 meridians. Every 3 meridians would strengthen the muscles and bones once. Therefore, in the training stage, the body would be strengthened 4 times. These 4 times were very important for martial artists. It was related to their future achievements. Inner strength. Zhou Fu suddenly sighed. There was no other reason. The cultivation of inner strength was a painstaking effort. There were no shortcuts. It could only be improved slowly. Why can't the support speed up the cultivation of inner strength? In this regard, Zhou Fu felt that it was a pity. There was actually a situation where the cheat didn't work. This was a little ridiculous. Based on my current progress, I need a month to open 3 meridians and complete my foundation. A month. Chapter 69. The next day, Zhou Fu, who was used to waking up early, felt something was wrong the moment he opened his eyes. How a white mist appeared in the air. At this moment, Zhou Fu was dumbfounded. The current season was the same as the spring on Earth. It was warm and the flowers were blooming. But today it was exceptionally cold. Damn, is this a breath? Zhou Fu ignored the question of whether it was a spring cold or not. The temperature from a few days ago was already close to summer. Why would it be cold? It was fine if it was a little cold in the morning. But to breathe out in such cold weather, that was not right. He casually put on a coat, pushed open the door, and walked out. "Young master, you are awake?" He turned around and saw his personal maid, Yuju. At this moment, Yuju was dressed in autumn clothes. Her small face was a little pale because of the cold air. As she walked closer, she saw Zhou Fu's outfit and was shocked. She quickly said, Young master, please come in quickly. It is cold today. It will be bad if you catch a cold. As she said that, she pushed Zhou Fu into the house. Zhou Fu smiled and shook his head. It's okay. I won't catch a cold. Even though he said that, he still followed the little girl into the house. After all, Yuju was Zhou Fu's personal maid. She was responsible for his daily necessities and some other chores. After a while, Zhou Fu also put on his autumn outfit and started his daily morning exercise. After the exercise, Zhou Fu listened to the gossip of the servants in the house. He wanted to know what was going on in the city. After all, the commotion last night was too big. After a while, Zhou Fu finally knew what happened last night. Near the ancestral temple in Heiyang City, there were dozens of courtyards. Hundreds of people were slaughtered. Early in the morning, the government mobilized the city guards and sealed off the streets near the ancestral temple. Anyone who passed by had to be recorded. But if there was anything suspicious about their whereabouts, they would be immediately arrested by the city guards. Not only that, but other places in the city were also in chaos. Similar to Fan Bao's situation, they were all possessed by evil spirits and started killing. It was worth mentioning that the government had a secret force. These people were all wearing bronze devil masks and black coats with golden edges. The scattered nether spirits were quickly eliminated under the pursuit of these people, so it did not cause too much panic. Heiyang City has become so unfamiliar in just one night. Zhou Fu shook his head and returned to his courtyard. He continued to train his inner chi staying at home. Time passed very quickly. In a blink of an eye, it was the third day. Morning. Zhou Fu stood in the corridor outside the room in a daze. Looking at the gloomy sky outside, he had already put on the cloak that Yuju took out from the chest. One had to know that this thing was meant to be worn in winter to resist the cold wind. Is this King snow? Between heaven and earth, there were some small white objects floating in the wind. They looked like snow. Zhou Fu shivered. Although this little bit of cold wind would not make him feel uncomfortable, his body still reacted subconsciously. Whatever, I'll continue to train. The way I trained yesterday was quite interesting. Last night, when he was training his inner chi, Zhou Fu suddenly had an idea. He remembered that when he was upgrading the Wisdom King scripture, there was a Wisdom King visualization image. Later, he guessed that the Wisdom King visualization image was the Buddha's shadow in his mind. Therefore, he tried to imitate the Buddha's shadow. Who would have thought that Zhou Fu's inner strength would increase by 3 times in the same amount of time as he did in the past? This made Zhou Fu very excited. If it wasn't for the fact that his inner chi would swell and hurt, he would want to train his inner chi all the time. Based on my current training speed, I'll be able to upgrade the Wisdom King scripture in less than 20 days. The third day. Dawn. Boom. There was a loud noise, as if the sky had exploded. Zhou Fu, who was sleeping soundly, opened his eyes wide. Thunder shower? Bang, bang. There was a series of knocking sounds on the roof, as if countless pebbles were falling. Before Zhou Fu could investigate further, the sound became more urgent and louder. Bang, bang, bang. Zhou Fu rolled out of bed, grabbed the cloak hanging by the side, opened the door and walked out. Clatter, clatter, bang, bang, bang. As soon as the door opened, a series of noises came rushing out. What is this? At this time, the lights in the corridor had been extinguished. With the dim light in the room, he could see countless white things jumping around in the yard. Bang! A few white balls rolled over. Zhou Fu bent down to pick them up. F***CK. Hail! Zhou Fu said in disbelief. 2 ice balls the size of an adult's finger were in Zhou Fu's hands. This is too much, right? Zhou Fu was not the only one who was confused. The entire Heiyang City was confused as well. When the sun came up, the people looked at the ice crystals on the ground in panic. Oh my God, this is an iceberg. This is the first time I've seen such a big hailstorm in my 50 years of life. Oomph. You've only been living for 50 years, and you want to see it? I haven't seen it in 60 years. 2 days ago, the sun was still up in the sky. Why is there a hailstorm today? This is abnormal. There must be a demon behind this. As soon as this was said, the surroundings became silent. Watch your words. Watch my ass. Our Heong City's ancestral hall was burned down. The thing below must have escaped. This must be the doing of that demon. I heard about it when I was young. That ancestral hall. Compared to the city, the farmstead outside the city was the one that suffered. At this time, there were only a few months left until the harvest. Now that the hailstorm hit, the harvest for this year was reduced by at least 30%. Moreover, it was not just the crops. The houses in the farmstead were also damaged by the hailstorm. One should know that most of the houses in the farmstead outside the city were made of mud and straw. How could they withstand this kind of disaster? At noon, the clouds in the sky seemed to have thinned. Just when the people thought that the sky was going to clear up, kaboom! There was a loud clap of thunder in the clear sky. The houses were shaking slightly. Splash! The white ice fell like the Milky Way and came crashing down from the sky. Run! Oh my God! The screams were quickly drowned out by the sound of the hailstorm. 1 hour later, the hailstorm stopped. The people who came out of the house were filled with fear. Late at night, the hailstorm came again. Just like that, for 15 days in a row, hailstones bombarded the Heong land 3 times a day. The crops outside Heong City were all destroyed. The farmsteads were gone too. The farmers either ran away or ran away. Some of them were even killed by the hailstorm. The city was not much better, especially the poor houses in the west side of the city. All of them had collapsed. Even the government did not want to go near them. The sky was clear. It had been a day since the hailstorm. Zhou Fu looked at the busy people and sighed. What a sin! Half of the Zhou family's house was destroyed. Many people were injured. At this time, no one was smiling. The entire Heong City was shrouded in gloom. Chapter 70. In the room, Zhou Fu was sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed. Suddenly, his body trembled. In his body, a faint golden inner force had connected to his third meridian. As soon as the third meridian was connected, the blood and qi in his body began to boil and wash through his muscles. Ugh! The soreness that came from all over his body made Zhou Fu groan. His skin was getting redder and redder. In less than 10 minutes, he looked like a cooked prawn. There was even white steam coming out from his head. Faint gray sweat flowed out from his pores. This gray liquid was the impurities in his body. In Zhou Fu's body, a faint golden light penetrated through his meridians. Under the effect of a strange force, these meridians that were connected were constantly increasing in width and toughness. However, this change was not gentle. It was violent. This tearing pain kept attacking his consciousness. After an hour, the pain began to subside. At this time, Zhou Fu had been tortured to the point where he wanted to die. He slowly stood up. Suddenly, a surge of energy appeared in his body. This comfortable feeling made him close his eyes. So, this is how it feels to break through on my own. After enjoying it for a while, the energy calmed down. Zhou Fu called out the support interface. On the interface, a plus sign appeared behind the scripture of the Enlightened King. Level up the scripture of the Enlightened King. Ding! Scripture of the Enlightened King has leveled up successfully. Current level, level 20. The plus sign disappeared. A large amount of understanding about the scripture of the Enlightened King surged into his mind. In his mind, the Buddha's shadow seemed to have become clearer. The hand seals seemed to have a special charm that was not there before. Is this what it means to be enlightened? Zhou Fu mumbled to himself. He formed a seal with both hands. A faint golden light flashed in his eyes. The immovable king's seal. As soon as the seal was formed, the inner force and blood in his body began to circulate. A steady and heavy aura began to rise. Suddenly, a hot feeling appeared in his chest. Then, he felt his mouth go dry. After the abnormality appeared, Zhou Fu immediately dispersed his inner force. He frowned and walked to the table. He thought to himself, what's going on? Could it be that my posture is wrong? That's not right. I broke through on my own. Picking up the teapot, he found that it was filled to the brim with cold water. It weighed 3 caddies. He opened his mouth and gulped it down. After finishing the tea, Zhou Fu let out a long sigh of relief. The heat in his chest also disappeared. He looked at the braised meat that had already been prepared and muttered to himself, let's eat first. After we finish eating, we'll go see the doctor. Just now, after breaking through, he had already felt hungry. He reached out and grabbed a large piece of meat, then took a bite out of it. This piece of meat was about the size of an ordinary person's fist. He swallowed it in 2 bites, as if he didn't need to chew. On the table beside him, there were 3 large plates filled with braised meat. These added up to a total of more than 10 kilograms. In a short while, they were all eaten by him. 80% full, just right. Zhou Fu wiped his mouth in satisfaction, patted his stomach, stood up, and walked out of the house. Pushing the door open, a gust of hot and humid wind blew into his face. It had been 2 days since the ice disaster in Haiyang City. The huge sun hung high in the sky. The dazzling sunlight was emitting high temperatures, roasting the earth. On the ground, the hailstones that couldn't be moved away in time started to melt. The melted ice water evaporated under the sunlight. This humid and hot feeling was very uncomfortable. Zhou Fu stood in the corridor and looked at the servants running around in the courtyard. Under Yu Zhu's command, they were moving things out of the courtyard. At the entrance of the courtyard, there were 2 ox carts. One of them was already full. Just when Zhou Fu was in a daze, Yu Zhu saw him. The stern expression on her face instantly disappeared and was replaced by a sweet smile. She jogged all the way to Zhou Fu's side. "Young master." Zhou Fu nodded and asked, "What are you all doing?" Yu Zhu replied, "Early this morning, housekeeper Ma ordered us to pack up the things. I wanted to tell you, but last night you ordered us not to disturb young master's seclusion. So I made the decision to let the servants move first. I hope young master can forgive me." "Housekeeper Ma?" "Oh, it's fine, it's fine. You go ahead, I'll go ask." At this moment, a manservant came from outside the courtyard. When he saw Zhou Fu standing in the corridor, he hurried over and bowed. "Young master, master wants you to go to the study immediately." "Oh, what a coincidence. I have something to do too. Let's go." "Yes." In the study, Zhou Fu pushed the door open and walked in. At this moment, Zhou Datsai was half lying in his personal chair, as usual. He looked very tired. Zhou Fu was a little surprised. He asked, "Father, you were looking for me?" "Yes." Zhou Datsai nodded and sat up straight. "You saw it when you came over. Your courtyard is already packed." "Yes, I saw it. I was just about to come over and ask. Are we preparing to set off?" Zhou Datsai shook his head and said, "Not us. It's you." "Me?" Hearing this, Zhou Fu was stunned. He looked at Zhou Datsai in surprise. "Father, didn't you promise me before that we would move to Ning'an together?" "Why?" Seeing Zhou Fu's anxious expression, Zhou Datsai smiled and said, "Things have changed." Seeing that Zhou Fu was about to speak, he reached out to stop him and continued. "The ice disaster a few days ago brought a lot of things to the family that haven't been dealt with yet. So, you go over first. I'll go after I'm done here." Zhou Fu looked at his father's tired expression. He didn't believe this kind of excuse. He asked in a deep voice, "Father, did something happen to our family?" "You little brat, what nonsense are you thinking?" Zhou Datsai rolled his eyes and retorted in a bad mood. "That's right." He took out a small box from the drawer and placed it on the desk. He pushed it toward Zhou Fu. "Here's some money for you to use in Ning'an. During this period of time, you'll be alone outside and can't compare to home. Don't spend money extravagantly, but don't let yourself suffer. Take it." Zhou Fu lowered his head and looked at the box on the desk. He suddenly felt a little absent-minded. Zhou Datsai's words sounded like he was leaving his will. "Father, why don't I stay for a few more days? Who knows, I might be able to help." "Huh." This sentence made Zhou Datsai laugh. "You can help? All right, don't think too much. I've already prepared the caravan and guards for you. After you're done packing, you can set off. Also, this time, you're not allowed to run back halfway." Seeing Zhou Datsai's determined eyes, Zhou Fu had no choice but to agree. He took the small box and said, "Then, I'll leave first. Go." After Zhou Fu left, a female voice suddenly came from the darkness. "Didn't you say that Zhou Fu is a little fatty? He looks quite handsome." A woman dressed in tight black clothes and wearing a bronze mask walked out. Zhou Datsai wasn't surprised. He snorted and didn't answer. He used a sarcastic tone and asked, "Are you satisfied now?" "Haha, satisfied? I don't care about anything else. As long as you Fatty Zhou, don't leave Heong City. Chapter 71. In the quiet study room, Zhou Datsai sighed helplessly. So be it, I'm used to it. Even if I'm buried here, there's nothing to regret. The lady in black shivered and said, Zhou, can you not talk about death? No one asked you to die. Don't talk nonsense. Zhou Datsai wasn't surprised by the lady's reaction. He laughed. What's the difference between this and death? He pointed at the ancestral shrine and said, the thing that was suppressed there has escaped. It's been hailstorm for more than 10 days. There's no harvest in Heong City this year. Only 2 or 3 out of 10 farmers survived. The lady sneered. Yo, since when did Fatty Zhou start to be so compassionate? Zhou Datsai paused. He thought of something and said awkwardly, I'm just being kind. Peace breeds wealth. Ha ha. As if she heard the funniest joke, the lady held her stomach and laughed. The lady's voice was quite nice, but Zhou Datsai's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He waited for the lady to laugh for a while and said, That's enough. I have a temper too. The lady stopped laughing, but her body was still twitching. She looked at Zhou Datsai and said, I didn't expect you to still be so shameless. If I remember correctly, when you came to Heong City, Zhou family wasn't one of the big herb merchants in Heong City, right? Let me think. The lady looked up and tried to recall something. I remember there was Chun family, Jean family, and something. All right, Liu family. They were the 3 big herb merchants in Heong City, right? The so-called 4 big herb merchants were called by Zhou family. Many people laughed at you for being shameless. Speaking up to this point, she looked at Zhou Datsai with a smile that was not a smile. In the end, the thousands of people in those 3 families. Now even their bones are gone. Look at what you're saying. It's scary. I didn't do it. Zhou Datsai quickly shook his head. Furthermore, now is not the time to bring up the past. Now that the blazing demon has escaped, if no one takes care of it, Heong City will be in a drought for at least 3 years. Isn't that asking for my life? As he said, he pointed outside the house. Look at that damn sun. In less than 10 days, the moat will be dry. Also, 1 month later, if there is still a drop of water from the well in this Heong City, I will kowtow to the door and even change my surname. Change my surname? The woman dragged her voice for a long time before she snorted in disdain. All right, stop acting. It's been 20 years, and you're still so disgusting when you act. To tell you the truth, Lord Liu has personally come over. That thing won't be able to show off for much longer. Lord Liu, Zhou Datsai rubbed his cheeks. I didn't expect that old thing to still be alive. The woman's body shook. Her right hand reached out to the air to interrupt Zhou Datsai. But it was too late. A gloomy voice sounded in the house. Little bastard, we haven't seen each other for 20 years. The word old thing, I miss it so much. What? You said I'm weak. Zhou Fu widened his eyes. He looked at the white-haired but wrinkle-free Dr. Liu. Not long ago, Zhou Fu came out of the study room and went to the doctor's room. He wanted the doctor to take a look at him and find out what was the problem with the fever. Who knew? When he checked his pulse, this old man in front of him said that Zhou Fu's body was weak. Cough, cough. Dr. Liu coughed a few times and explained, Young master, you misunderstood. It's not a weak body, it's an yin deficiency. Due to yin deficiency, the liver's yang is on the bed, so the heart is burning and the mouth is dry. Yin deficiency? In Zhou Fu's knowledge, this word was only related to the kidney. Then, what should I do? Drink goji berries with water? Dr. Liu blinked his eyes and opened his mouth. For a moment, he couldn't organize his words. After a while, he said, Young master, you misunderstood. That thing has some use for ordinary people, but for young master, it has no effect. From the pulse, young master's qi and blood are vigorous. Your body is strong, and your bones are strong. This is the pulse of a martial artist. You should know that if the qi and blood are too vigorous, it will cause the yin and yang in the body to be out of balance, causing the yang to be on the bed. Speaking until here, Dr. Liu grabbed a pen and paper from the side and wrote while saying, I'll write 2 prescriptions. This one is to boil it after practicing martial arts. The other one, you can drink it with tea on weekdays. Dr. Liu's pen moved, and the 2 prescriptions were quickly placed in front of Zhou Fu. He also said, "This old man followed my master to the north and south in the past, so I know some things." People who practice martial arts have the help of some pills to balance the yin and yang in the body. Speaking until here, Dr. Liu sighed, "It's a pity that my aptitude is lacking, and I lack some luck, so I can't learn these skills. If young master has the means, it's best to take the pills. Otherwise, as your cultivation grows, the effect of these pills will be greatly reduced." Zhou Fu took the prescriptions and thanked him. Just as he was about to say something, the housekeeper, old Ma, came in from the outside. "Young master, everything is packed. It's time to go." The Zhou family's motorcade set off. A line of more than a dozen big carriages majestically headed toward Ning'an. "Young master, this little one is called Ma Shuping. The housekeeper is my father." A man who looked to be in his 30s introduced himself to Zhou Fu. "Oh, Uncle Ma's son?" Zhou Fu looked at him. "Then should I call you Pingur?" Ma Shuping quickly waved his hand and said, "Don't. If my father hears it, he will break my legs." "Hee, if young master doesn't mind, you can call me Xiao Ma or Shuping." Zhou Fu smiled and nodded. "That's fine too." Ma Shuping chuckled. He looked simple and honest, but the occasional twinkle in his eyes showed that he was an introvert. "This time, I'm following young master to Ning and to take care of some chores in a restaurant business in Ning'an City." "Restaurant?" "Yes, restaurant. Our Zhou family has a restaurant in Ning. It's related to the Red Sea Gang." Zhou Fu nodded and thought to himself, "It seems that my family has a deep relationship with the Red Sea." After saying what needed to be said, Zhou Fu's surroundings quieted down. The rest of the time was spent on the road. While they were on the road, Zhou Fu focused all his attention on cultivation, allowing the bright King scripture to open up another meridian. This breakthrough did not bring about much change, but it increased Zhou Fu's strength by 30%. He also grew a little taller. He estimated that he was at least 185 meters tall. After more than 20 days, the group arrived outside Ning'an City. Zhou Fu looked at the city wall in front of him. It was about 7 or 8 stories high. He did not know how wide or thick it was. "This is a King city wall." Zhou Fu was dumbfounded by the scene in front of him. He really couldn't imagine what kind of army would be used to fight against this thing. Young master, we should go. The city guards are getting impatient." Ma Shouan reminded him softly. Oh, let's go. The group of more than 10 cars slowly entered Ning'an City. Chapter 72. After entering the city gates, Zhou Fu looked at the wide streets. There were 16 lanes in both directions. How shocking would it be in this society? The smooth road made Zhou Fu unable to feel the shaking of the carriage. On both sides of the road, there was a meter-wide flower bed. The ground was covered with grass, and there were some small flowers scattered around. On both sides of the flower bed, there were sidewalks and shops. I can't believe it. How did the government manage to support this kind of construction? As the carriages went deeper into the city, the number of people on the street increased. After a few turns, the carriages arrived in front of a house. The door of the house was 3 meters wide and about the same height. But compared to the Zhou mansion in Hayang City, it was a far cry. "Young master, we're here." Zhou Fu got off the carriage and looked around. "Young master." Ma Shuping walked over. "Before we arrived, the house was already cleaned up. You can move in at any time. I'll arrange for someone to show you around." The house faced the south. There were 5 rows of rooms. Between every 2 rows of rooms, there was an empty courtyard. Zhou Fu's room was on the left side of the 4th row. In order to make it easier for him to practice, there was a separate space. The ground was already paved with limestone. It looked very comfortable. The 5th row of rooms was reserved for Zhou Datsai. It was empty now. Behind the 5th row of rooms, there was a big garden. There were artificial mountains and ponds. The design was very exquisite. Behind them was the back door. After everything was settled, it was already past noon. After lunch, Ma Shuping came and said that he wanted to check out the restaurant. Then he left. As for Zhou Fu, his task was to quietly practice and wait for the so-called recruitment meeting organized by the big gangs. In the evening, Ma Shuping came back. His face was still injured. Zhou Fu frowned and asked, "What happened to you?" Didn't you go to check out the restaurant? Ma Shuping gritted his teeth and said angrily, Young master, we were cheated by the Red Sea gang. Cheated? Zhou Fu was shocked. What's going on? Speak clearly. It's like this. This afternoon, I'll go to the restaurant to do the handover. According to our previous agreement with the Red Sea gang, they will provide manpower to maintain the restaurant's safety, and we will provide manpower and money to do business. Then, we'll split the profits 40-60. We'll take 40 and they'll take 60. At this point, Ma Shuping's voice became choked with sobs. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that the Red Sea gang would take over the restaurant? Even the manager of the restaurant, as well as the cook, were detained by them. When I went up to explain, they immediately beat me up. In the end, I was thrown onto the street by them. They even threatened me that the next time they saw me, they would cripple my legs and throw me outside the city to feed the wild wolves. Zhou Fu felt that something was wrong and asked, Does Heong City know about this? Of course not. If he knew, he wouldn't have let me take over the restaurant. Also, last month, the government even sent someone to check the accounts. Everything was fine at that time. Zhou Fu's eyes slightly narrowed as he slowly said, That is to say, this matter only happened recently. Or rather, it only happened during this period of time when Heong City was in turmoil. Heong City, Red Sea Gang, Iron Tiger. These three words kept lingering in Zhou Fu's mind. Suddenly, he sneered, Damn, people nowadays change their minds faster than the weather. At this moment, his heart was filled with anger. Thinking of the Red Sea Gang and Hung Yun Casino, Bai Lang's figure also appeared. Oh, I seem to have forgotten something. All right, I seem to have forgotten to give Brother by the money I promised him. I don't know how he is now. Forget it, I didn't do it on purpose. If we meet again, it's the same. At this time, Ma Shuping said, Young master, now that the restaurant is gone, we don't have enough money on us. Not enough? Yes. This time, Zhou Fu was really dumbfounded. He was actually short of money. Didn't they say that they would start with a rich second generation? How come they were short of money after changing places? It's really gone? Zhou Fu still wanted to confirm. Ma Shuping nodded seriously and said, Yes, young master. After we buy food and daily necessities, we really don't have much left. The remaining money can last us for at most 10 days. TSK. Zhou Fu cursed in his heart. He felt that his chest was suffocating. Yuju, as Zhou Fu's personal maid, she quickly appeared after hearing Zhou Fu's call. Young master. Zhou Fu sighed. He could almost hear the sound of his heart bleeding. Before we left Heong City, I gave you a small box. Bring it over now. Yes. After a while, Yuju came over with the small box that Zhou Datsai had given to Zhou Fu. Young master, here it is. Zhou Fu didn't take it and gestured for Ma Shuping to pass it to him. Ma Shuping took it and opened it on the spot. Money. It was money. Ma Shuping was overjoyed. He took out the banknotes and began to count them. Every time he counted, Zhou Fu's heart ached. When he finished counting, Zhou Fu had already closed his eyes. Young master, I've counted. If we use it sparingly, it can last us 2 months. Zhou Fu nodded. Got it. You can go. Yes, I'll take my leave. After dismissing everyone, Zhou Fu sat on the chair and looked at the ceiling. He muttered to himself, 2 months. It's better to be frugal. It seems that I'll be out of money in a month and a half at most. I have to find a way to earn money. My life as a rich second generation. It's so difficult. As soon as he arrived in Ning'an City, bad things came knocking on his door. Zhou Fu's mood was very bad. Even his cultivation was not very pleasant. He lay on a chair and looked at the clouds in the sky. His mind was in a mess. After dinner, Zhou Fu was resting when Ma Shouan suddenly came to him with an account book in his hand. He went straight to the point and said, Young master, this is the account book that I've compiled. All the expenses in the residence are recorded. Account book? Zhou Fu refused directly. Forget about the account book. I naturally trust Uncle Ma's family. Just say it. This sentence made Ma Shouan very moved. He calmed down and said, Young master, the banknotes in the box today totaled 20,000 taels. 20,000 taels. Zhou Fu raised his eyebrows. This amount was not small. Why did he say that it could only last for 2 months in the afternoon? Currently, There are 32 guards and 40 servants in the residence. Among them, there are 10 maids and 30 retainers. What followed was a pile of detailed accounts. Zhou Fu did not feel good when he heard it. Finally, he rubbed his head. So, we have to find a way to earn money? Ma Shuping did not reply. Zhou Fu sighed again. By the way, where's the restaurant? Ma Shuping replied. East of the city's pier, see return restaurant. All right, I got it. You may leave. After Ma Shuping left, Zhou Fu reached out and patted the account book beside him. The money was gone, and the restaurant was gone. He felt empty in his heart, accompanied by waves of pain. He looked at the dark sky outside the window and muttered, Red Sea Gang. It's not that easy to take my things. Chapter 73. The next day, after lunch. Yuju, find me a set of clothes. Yes, young master. Yuju walked to the wardrobe and asked as she rummaged through it. Young master, are you going out? Yes, I'm going out for a walk. He looked at the long black robe that Yuju found. There was a faint Zhou word on the waist. Change it. Yuju was stunned and asked, Young master, is there anything that you don't like? No. Zhou Fu shook his head. Find something inconspicuous. Yuju understood and replied, Okay, I'll change it now. After a while, she took out a dark gray coat. Although the color was dim, one could see that the material of the coat was exquisite. Zhou Fu changed into it, took some money, and walked out of the house. He did not let the servants follow him. He went out of the alley and found an ox cart. This kind of ox cart was similar to a taxi. It had a comfortable and stable carriage that could allow people to rest. The Zhou family's house was located in the southeast of Ning'an City. In Ning'an City, there was a large river that ran through the east and west. Therefore, on the east and west city walls, there was a huge arch hole that allowed some merchant ships and transport vehicles to enter. Of course, it was not for ships to enter and exit at will. Both sides of the river and the city wall were not only heavily guarded, but there was also a huge water gate that could be lowered at any time. Young master, we're here. Zhou Fu handed a few coins to the coachman. The coachman took the money, thanked him, and drove away. Is this the dock in the city? Not far away, a large river about 1 kilometer wide lay in front of him. Zhou Fu stood on the south bank. A few hundred meters away, there was a platform that was thousands of square meters in size. Part of it extended into the river. There were several straight paths that extended from the platform. On one side of these straight paths, some ships were docked. Many bare-chested men were yelling as they unloaded bags of goods from a ship. Then, small carts pushed the goods ashore. Behind the dock, on both sides of the street, there were many shops and restaurants. Among them, there were more than 10 restaurants close to the street. Sea Return Restaurant was a restaurant that was 4 stories tall. It was situated on the street, and its location was pretty good. Although it was already past mealtime, more than half of the tables on the first floor were still occupied. Yo, young master, are you here to eat or stay? When Zhou Fu walked in, the restaurant's waiter came up to greet him. Let's eat. All right, the servant said. Young master, it's much quieter upstairs. What do you think? The upper floor was definitely better than the main hall, but there was a price to pay. There was a minimum price for the upper floor. If one couldn't afford it, they would have to pay extra. No, just the first floor. Find a quiet place. As soon as he said this, the smile on the servant's face faded a little. After all, he would have extra income if he lured Zhou Fu upstairs. There's a window seat inside, please. After Zhou Fu sat down, he sipped his tea while listening to the conversations around him. Mother Asterisk, I've encountered it this time. I just brought back a few ships of grain from the north. I thought it would be enough to break even. Who knew that just as I arrived, someone bought the goods before I could unload them? The person who spoke was the owner of the ship. He looked a little sad and didn't look happy at all after selling his goods. He continued, I thought it was a good thing, but when I got off the ship and asked around, I almost fainted from anger. Ha! A burst of laughter came from the side, attracting the attention of the surrounding people. You're talking about the disaster in Haeong City, right? The owner of the ship slapped his thigh and sighed. Mother Asterisk, isn't it? If I knew about this earlier, I could have earned more. These bastards only know how to bully honest people like me. The owner of the ship's words caused a wave of laughter. Honest people? No one would believe that. You don't have to be angry. You're not the only one who was fooled. Oh, this sentence made the owner of the ship interested. He asked, is there a lot? As long as there are ships transporting grain from the outside, none of them were left behind. Some were even more unlucky. While they were on the road, the Red Sea gang or the giant whale bought their grain. At first, those people were happy. But when they got off the dock, they were all cursing. Ha ha ha. The owner of the ship laughed. Hearing you say that, I feel much better. People, if they were the only ones who were unlucky, then they were really unlucky. If the same unlucky thing happened to a group of people, then he would feel much better. Not only that, he would also laugh at those who were even more unlucky than him. Just like this owner of the ship. I didn't expect that there would be someone even more unlucky than me. Being bought off halfway, ha ha ha. What are you laughing at? On the other side, a middle-aged man scolded. The owner of the ship wasn't someone to be trifled with. He turned his head and scolded back. I'm talking. It's none of your business. The person who explained to the owner of the ship said, this is the one who is even more unlucky than you. Pooh, the owner of the ship spat out a mouthful of wine. Cough, 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 I'm sorry. He didn't expect that the owner of the ship was right next to him. Even if the owner of the ship had a thick face, he still felt embarrassed. This brother, it was a slip of the tongue. I apologize to you. The owner of the ship took 2 wine bowls, filled them with wine, and walked over. This matter wasn't a big deal, but it was a bit embarrassing. The man took the wine bowl from the owner of the ship and sighed. This brother is right. By the way, how much did you sell it for? The owner of the ship reported a number. The man's face turned even uglier. He raised his wine bowl and clinked it with the owner of the ship. He drank it in one gulp, and then his whole person looked even more depressed. At this time, the people around them could see that the man was selling himself cheap. King Red Sea Gang. They cheated me so miserably. The man gritted his teeth and said, be careful with your words. This restaurant is the territory of the Red Sea Gang. A man at the next table reminded him. The man frowned and said in a deep voice, Red Sea Gang? Isn't the owner of Sea Return Restaurant surnamed Joe? How did it become the Red Sea Gang? That owner, surnamed Joe, is from the Zhou family of Haiyang City. And that Zhou family has some dealings with the Red Sea Gang. It's said that the Red Sea Gang has quite a big business in Haiyang City. That person continued. A month ago, Haiyang City met with a disaster. That Zhou family was naturally the first to bear the brunt. So what followed was a burst of self-evident laughter. So that's how it is. The man's expression was a bit strange. There was a sigh, and there was also disdain. Sirs. The owner of the restaurant walked over and cupped his hands. Please do a good deed. Don't talk nonsense about these things. The situation in front of him was happening every day recently. But every time he heard it, he felt uncomfortable. After all, he used to be a member of the Zhou family. Who the CK didn't watch their mouth and farted here? Who dares to talk bad about the Red Sea Gang? Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue? An arrogant voice came from the second floor. Everyone looked over and saw 3 men in dark red martial arts attire walking down. Chapter 74. Everyone in the hall looked at the 3 members of the Red Sea Gang walking down the stairs, and the originally lively atmosphere quickly quieted down. The 3 people who walked over were led by a young man with average looks. His eyes were full of ruthlessness, giving people the feeling that he was going to make a move in the next second. Speak. Why aren't you speaking? He walked to the center of the hall, stood on the main path, and looked around with a mocking smile on his face. Weren't you guys talking very enthusiastically just now? I heard it clearly from the second floor. Why aren't you speaking now? Are you mute? Everyone was silent and even stopped eating and drinking tea. Zhou Fu, who was sitting in the corner, was somewhat stunned. One had to know that at this moment, there were also some Jianghu people in the hall. They were actually suppressed by a young man. Was the Scarlet Sea Gang so powerful? Ta-ta-ta. A series of footsteps came from outside the store. For people wearing white coats, bamboo hats, and long swords at their waists walked into the store. Shopkeeper, you're not doing business anymore? The shopkeeper was stunned for a moment before he quickly reacted. Yes. I'm sorry. He turned around and waved at the waiter beside him. Why are you still standing there? Lead the way to the private room upstairs. I'm coming, I'm coming. The waiter jogged over to them. Sirs, please go upstairs. After saying that, the waiter turned a corner, gave way to the main path of the hall, and walked past the tables. At this time, the young man from the Red Sea Gang was still standing on the main path. This action showed that the waiter handled things smoothly, but the men in white didn't think so. The leading man in white walked straight to the stairs, and the three people behind him followed. The young man from the Red Sea Gang crossed his arms and didn't say anything. He just looked at them coldly. Scram! Everyone in the hall was shocked, and their eyes lit up. The young man's face changed, and he cursed. Where did this Birdman come from? This is my Red Sea Gang's. Bang! Without waiting for the young man to finish speaking, the man in white raised his hand and slapped the young man, sending him flying and smashing a table. Red Sea Gang? Even if you have the flag, you're just a dog. How dare you block my way? You don't know what's good for you. After the man in white finished speaking, he continued to walk up the stairs. The remaining two Red Sea Gang members looked at each other. With a clang, they pulled out their weapons and roared as they charged forward. You dare to cause trouble in my Red Sea Gang? You're courting death. The man in white calmly took off his bamboo hat, revealing a young face. He looked to be in his 20s. The young man's collar caught Zhou Fu's attention. On the lower left corner of the man's collar, two words were sewn in gold thread. Jiaojiang. The white-clothed youth looked at the two Red Sea Gang members rushing towards him. He waved his right hand, and two white streams of energy passed through the void and hit the two men. Amidst their screams, the two of them were sent flying and crashed onto the ground. The white-clothed youth continued to move forward and said, Red Sea Gang, right? We're from the Jiaojiang sword sect. Let's see if one of you can talk. As his voice fell, the group had already reached the second floor. Ugh! A painful groan awakened everyone from their shock. They looked towards the source of the sound and saw that it was from the young man who was sent flying. Under everyone's gaze, the young man struggled to stand up. He looked up and saw that the man in front of him was the big man who had complained about the Red Sea Gang before. At this time, the big man looked at him with a mocking expression. You're laughing at my ass. Anger rose from his heart, and evil grew from his guts. This gaze made the young man's anger explode, and he slapped the big man's face. A crisp slap was heard. This slap caused the big man to fall backwards onto the floor. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Following the big man were two other people. They suddenly got up and glared fiercely at the young man, their hands subconsciously reaching for their waists. At this time, more than 10 people wearing Red Sea Gang uniforms rushed in from outside the restaurant. After these people came in, they quickly came to the young man's side. The young man took a step forward and stepped on the big man's face. He grinned and said, Who the fuck do you think you are? Huh? Speak. A middle-aged man came out and frowned as he looked at the violent young man and asked in a deep voice, Enough. What's going on here? The young man raised his foot and turned to salute the middle-aged man. This subordinate greets Steward Liu. These people were talking bad about the Red Sea Gang just now, so I came here to teach them a lesson. Then, speaking up to here, the young man's eyes were bloodshot and overflowed with ferocity. Then a few people in white came in and ruthlessly attacked us without saying anything. They even said that they were from a Nine Rivers sword sect and wanted to see our steward. Huh? Nine Rivers sword sect? Steward Liu was shocked and looked at the young man to confirm. Yes, Nine Rivers sword sect. After a moment of silence, Steward Liu asked, Where are those people? They're upstairs. All right, I'll go up and take a look. You can go down and treat your injuries. Steward Liu then ordered a person beside him. You go and find the hall master. Be quick. Yes. After seeing his subordinate leave, Steward Liu was about to take his men upstairs. At this time, the young man pointed at the middle-aged man who was still lying on the ground and asked, How should we deal with this man? Steward Liu, who had already stepped on the stairs, didn't stop his footsteps as his indifferent voice sounded. Do as you see fit. The man lying on the ground trembled and his face turned pale. After Steward Liu went upstairs, several Red Sea Gang members took the middle-aged man and the two people who shared the same table with him away. During the entire process, No one in the hall spoke a word. Some of the more timid ones didn't even raise their heads. Is this the power of the Red Sea Gang? Zhou Fu felt his heartbeat as his hot blood slowly flowed through his body, seemingly accumulating strength. After a while, the restaurant's waiter served the dishes, but Zhou Fu had already lost his appetite. At this time, footsteps were heard from outside. Zhou Fu turned his head to look. A sturdy middle-aged man walked in, his whole body exuding a powerful aura. Behind him, there were a few young men with cold eyes. At first glance, one could tell that they were not to be trifled with. Behind them was the arrogant young man from before. At this time, he no longer had that arrogant look. His face was pale and his eyes were lifeless. When the restaurant's manager saw the newcomer, he trembled and revealed a frightened expression. He hurriedly walked out from the counter and bowed. "Greetings, Hall Master Rin." Whispers were heard in the hall. "It's him? I didn't expect him to actually come. There's going to be a good show to watch today." There were also some who didn't know him and whispered, "Who is he?" "The Red Sea Gang's Hall Master, Rinjin." Thump, thump, thump. The sound of people coming down the stairs made everyone turn their heads to look. A group of people in white came down the stairs and then sat down at the table in the middle of the hall. Rin Jin's expression changed as a trace of anger flashed through his face. He said in a deep voice, "This one is the Red Sea Gang's Hall Master Rin Jin. Greetings to the Nine Rivers Sword Sect. There are too many people here, so it's better to move." "Cut the crap." The man in white interrupted Rin Jin's words. "We came here to have a meal, but we didn't expect that a piece of trash would ruin our mood. What should we do about this matter?" Creak, the sound of grinding teeth came from Rin Jin's mouth, and the atmosphere in the hall suddenly sank. "What kind of explanation do you want?" The young man in white said indifferently, "Break his limbs." Chapter 75. His arrogant tone stunned everyone around him. The few people who came with Rin Jin angrily pulled out their long swords, waiting for the order to chop these people into meat paste. "Sir, this is my Red Sea Gang's territory. Don't you think you're going overboard by doing this?" Rin Jin shouted angrily. Ever since he became the leader of the Red Sea Gang, no one dared to slap his face like this. "Overboard?" The young man in white sneered. You dare say I'm overboard? There's something even more overboard. Do you want to try?" Boom! A powerful aura arose from Rin Jin's body. His hair and clothes fluttered without wind, and his blood and chi surged. "Yo," the young man in white pretended to be shocked. "You scared me to death. I thought it was those people from the Body Refining Hall who crawled out of story." Body Refining Hall. Zhou Fu's eyes flashed. Hee, young master, those people from the Body Refining Hall are already dead. Even if they didn't die, this old man can make them die again. Behind the young man in white sat an old man with gray hair and beard. These domineering words caused Rin Jin's heart to sink. He didn't know much about the Nine River Sword sect and had only heard his sect master mention it by chance. Thus, he was careful. After receiving the report from his subordinates, he sent someone to inform the sect master. He estimated that the sect master would arrive in a while. "Who are you?" This old man is an elder of the Nine Rivers Sword sect, Mo Hongyun. Rin Jin frowned slightly. He didn't know this person. Mo Hongyun could tell, but it didn't matter. If it wasn't to protect the young man in white, he wouldn't have stepped into the Jianghu again. Therefore, he said to the young man in white, "Young master, it's about time. We should leave." The young man in white nodded. He looked at Rin Jin and asked, "So, have you thought about it? Do you want to do it yourself, or should I?" Seeing that Rin Jin was still unmoved, the young man in white sighed. "Forget it. From your expression, I can tell that you don't know the power of the Nine River Sword sect. Since that's the case, I'll let you see it today." He stood up and pressed his sword with his right hand. A fierce aura came out of the young man in white. Body Refining has no way out. Whoosh, a sword chime rang out. Several silver-white sword lights cut into the crowd. Rin Jin's expression changed drastically. When the sword chime sounded out, he raised his hand to block. However, before he could even raise his hand halfway, a sword light exploded in front of his chest. Blood spurted out. Rin Jin screamed as he was sent flying. With a thump, Rin Jin fell to the ground. He raised his head with difficulty, and the scene in front of him made his eyes pop. No! Under everyone's shocked gazes, the 5 faction members behind Rinjin were already beheaded. The thick stench of blood spread throughout the hall. Thick, black blood flowed on the ground, but the white-clothed youth stood in place, as if he had not moved at all. Did you see it clearly? He looked at the bleeding Rinjin and said, "Remember to keep your eyes open in your next life." With that, he raised his right hand. The sword rose and slashed down. The silver-white sword light shot towards Rinjin. Just as everyone believed that another corpse was about to be added, Sea Return Restaurant's door blasted open. "Spare him." A strong wind swept up as a figure appeared in front of Rinjin. The person reached out his hand. It was a hand as black as ink as it brazenly met the sword light. Bang! The sword light shattered, but the hand remained as steady as a boulder. So I'm still too late. When Rinjin, who was lying on the ground, saw the person, he shouted agitatedly, "Gang! Gang leader! Hall Master Run, have a rest first." After seeing the white-clothed youth's sword light shatter, Emo Hongyun stood in front of the youth. He unsheathed his sword and held it in front of him. The Red Sea Gang's gang leader turned his head and said, "I'm the Red Sea Gang's gang leader, Zhu Daoan. Friend from the Nine Rivers Sword Sect, you have gone overboard." Emo Hongyun stopped the youth who was about to speak and said, "You are all youngsters. Don't be too rash. Yo, I was wondering who it was. Isn't this cloud-piercing sword? Emo Hongyun? F***K? You aren't dead yet. If you didn't speak, I wouldn't have recognized you." Zhu Daoan sized up Emo Hongyun and clicked his tongue in wonder. "You're already 70 or 80 years old. How come you don't even have many wrinkles on your face? You look younger than me by a few years." Zhu Daoan. "Zhu." Emo Hongyun's thoughts were in turmoil. "You are from the Zhu clan." Zhu Daoan grinned. "Old thing, you dare to cause trouble in my territory? You have guts. Since you have made your move, then take a palm from me. If you don't die, then scram. If you die, then they will die too." Emo Hongyun's eyes flashed. The sword in his hand let out a soft hum. "Since that is the case, then let me experience the Zhu clan's godly technique. Take this." Boom! Thick black fog gushed out from Zhu Daoan's body. The temperature in the hall suddenly rose. In the depths of the fog, there were streams of fiery light flowing, as if they were going to rush out in the next moment. Emo Hongyun didn't want to be outdone. He shouted, "Take this." The sword in his hand blossomed with silver light. Streams of illusory sword chi appeared, and the air around him began to sway. This sound alarmed the crowd that was watching the show. They hurriedly ran outside. When Zhou Fu saw the black fog, he had already stood up. He pressed his right hand on the windowsill and flipped out. After landing, he didn't stop. He didn't use any light body technique either. He relied on his stamina to run into the distance. After running for about 50 meters, a loud sound came from the Sea Return restaurant. Zhou Fu turned his head and saw that the wooden windows had all shattered. There were streams of fiery light rushing out from the windows. At that moment, a sword beam rushed out. "Zhu Daoan, Zhu clan. My Nine River Sword sect will remember this. Farewell." A few white silhouettes leaped up and down in midair before disappearing. At that moment, a series of chaotic footsteps approached. Zhou Fu turned his head and saw that not far away, over 20 people dressed in Red Sea Gang attire ran out from a courtyard. They were rushing towards the Sea Return restaurant in a panic. "I didn't come here for nothing. Let's go back." Zhou Fu stood at the entrance of his house. He was stunned as he looked at the courtyard that was still emitting wisps of black smoke. Why did he realize that his house was gone when he returned? He entered the courtyard and walked towards his residence. What puzzled him was that he didn't encounter anyone along the way. "Young master, are you all right?" Ma Shuping hurriedly ran over when he saw Zhou Fu. "What can I be? Are you all right?" Zhou Fu looked at Ma Shuping in front of him and was stunned. At that moment, Ma Shuping's face had more injuries, and they were even more serious. What happened? At that moment, Yuzhu also ran over. Tears were rolling down her face, and her cheeks were red and swollen. She cried and said, "Young master, after you left, the Red Sea Gang came looking for us. They were highly skilled in martial arts and captured everyone in the residence. Following that, they gave us a vicious beating. Not only did they snatch our money, they even set the place on fire before they left. Sob, set the place on fire? Vicious beating? Zhou Fu turned to look at Ma Shuping and asked, really? Yes, I'm not mistaken. Among the people who came this time, there were those who beat me yesterday. They left a message that if we don't leave before sunset today, we won't be able to leave in the future. After they left, the rest of the people in the residence also ran away. Now, only Yuju and I are left. Zhou Fu nodded. The anger in his heart was surging and his eyes were bloodshot. Red Sea Gang. What a great Red Sea Gang. He took out a banknote from his bosom. This was the last of his stock. There's a Fu and inn on the street. You and Yuju should pack up and get a few rooms and wait for me there. Zhou Fu handed the banknote to Ma Shuping and turned to walk outside. On the roadside, he stopped a car. Young master, where are you going? East Pier. Chapter 76. The sun was setting in the west, and the afterglow of the setting sun covered the streets and houses. Zhou Fu walked out of a small alley and looked at a wooden door diagonally opposite him. That was the back door of the Red Sea Gang's hall. At this time, there was almost no one on the street. They had either gone home to eat or were having fun in the business district of the docks. He took out a mask he bought from a street stall. It was black, and the face of an evil spirit was outlined in red and white. Red Sea Gang. If the Nine River Sword Sect can kill them, so can I. Today I've seen clearly that in this Jianghu, whoever has the bigger fist is more powerful. The evil spirit mask slowly rose and covered his face. Thump, thump, thump. His heart beat strongly, pounding on his chest, and the blood in his body began to vibrate. Zhou Fu's body grew bigger little by little, and the muscles under his clothes bulged, especially his arms, which were almost as big as the thighs of ordinary martial artists. Coupled with his 9 meters tall body, he was like half a wall, and there was a sense of oppression just standing there. He came to the door and knocked. Dong, dong, dong. Not long after, an impatient voice came from inside. Who is it? Dong, dong, dong. I'm coming, stop knocking. Creak, the wooden door opened, and an impatient face appeared. This person's eyes were half closed, as if he had just woken up. A shadow shone down. Zhou Fu reached out his hand and covered the entire face of the person who opened the door. With a gentle push of his arm, there was a light crack, and the person's neck was broken. So weak. Entering the door, he closed the courtyard door behind him. Who is it? Zhou Fu turned his head and looked. On the road leading to the inner courtyard, there were 2 servants in gray coats, looking at him in horror. I've been discovered. Zhou Fu, who had no intention of hiding himself, grinned and threw the corpse in his hand at the man. Whoosh, he exerted force on his feet and rushed toward the 2 people. Help! Assassins! A shrill scream pierced the sky. Boom! Blood splattered everywhere. The body that Zhou Fu threw out as a weapon did not hit anyone but the wall. Like a watermelon falling to the ground, it shattered upon contact. The wall was also dented. At this moment, Zhou Fu also arrived beside the 2 of them. A pair of palm leaf fan-like hands suddenly smashed down. There was no martial arts, no skill, just pure strength. Bang! Bang! The huge force smashed the 2 of them to the ground, causing the ground to tremble. Dark red blood gushed out from the 7 apertures of the 2 of them. In an instant, they stopped breathing. Zhou Fu didn't look at this scene. He walked past the 2 corpses and headed inside. Clang! Clang! The gong sounded, and 5 or 6 people wearing Red Sea Gang uniforms rushed in. When they saw Zhou Fu, they drew their long sabers and charged over with a roar. Kill the assassin! Kill! In the cold light, Zhou Fu felt that the blood in his body had begun to boil. The sound of the sharp saber breaking through the air made him yearn for it. Facing the saber, Zhou Fu reached out and blocked the 2 long sabers in front of him, letting the rest of the saber slash on his body. Bang! 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 In a muffled sound, the long sabers that slashed on Zhou Fu's body bounced up. Use your strength. Are you tickling me? Zhou Fu's big hand reached out, grabbed the two stunned gang members in front of him, and swung them as weapons. Under the huge inertia, the two people who were grabbed by the neck by Zhou Fu and swung up directly had their cervical vertebrae broken. Their eyes rolled back and they died. Zhou Fu swung his left hand and smashed the two of them. With a swing of his right hand, another one was smashed down. Under the support of Zhou Fu's great strength, the three who fell to the ground had bleeding noses and mouths. Apparently, their internal organs were pierced by broken bones, and there was no saving them. Just as he was about to leave, he heard a click. Looking down, a flint fell at his feet. He bent down to pick it up, unscrewed it, and blew it gently. A fiery red light emerged. This is really the cycle of the heavens. Retribution is not good. Zhou Fu bent his finger, and a fire fell on the debris not far away. Before he turned around, a sharp wind came. Thief die. Whoosh! The cold light broke through the air, followed by a red light. Dang! Zhou Fu only felt as if he was pushed by someone. He looked down and saw a spear tip against his chest. He reached out and grabbed the spear shaft. No matter how hard the other party tried, he could not pull it out of Zhou Fu's hand. At this time, Zhou Fu grinned. You haven't eaten, right? You don't even know how to rob. I'll teach you. Watch carefully. After saying that, he pulled the gun back with all his might and snatched it away with a whoosh. Ah! A scream was heard. The person who was holding the spear looked at his hands in horror. They had become a bloody mess. In the dark red, white bones could be seen. Zhou Fu turned the spear around, holding it with his right hand and pointing the spear tip to the ground. To be honest, he had never used this thing before. As the saying goes, if you haven't eaten pork, haven't you seen a pig run? He raised his right hand and stabbed forward. Missed. Zhou Fu stared blankly for a moment. Then, he angrily snorted. His spear shook, and shot out once again. Missed again. Damn you, why are you dodging? Zhou Fu cursed. Holding the spear with both hands, he smashed it down as if he was using a stick. Crack! With a crisp sound, the wooden body of the spear suddenly broke apart. Trash! Throwing away half of the spear in his hand, the person was already far away. Zhou Fu stepped on the ground and rushed out. Where do you think you're going? Zhou Fu straightened his palm like a knife and chopped down. Bastard! The person who was holding the spear widened his eyes. In the whistling wind, his body, which was originally running away from Zhou Fu, suddenly turned around. At this time, he didn't care about the piercing pain in his hands. He raised his arms and madly urged the internal strength in his body. Bang! The knife hand fell. The pure surging power directly smashed the internal strength gathered. Not only that, under the knife hand, the hard forearm suddenly broke. The internal strength entered the body and broke the other person's sternum. Puff, a mist of blood drifted. Who are you? I'm here to collect debts. Zhou Fu passed through the backyard and came to a place that looked like a small martial arts arena. At this time, there were 30 to 40 Red Sea gang members with sharp blades in their hands. When they saw Zhou Fu, they shouted in unison, "Die, thief!" A powerful aura hit him in the face. What a big show. Zhou Fu laughed indifferently, ignoring the majestic aura as if it was nothing. Who are you? Why have you come to my Red Sea gang to cause trouble? Zhou Fu knew the person who spoke. It was Steward Liu who appeared in the restaurant. Your Red Sea gang owes me money. Today, I'm here to collect debts. Collect debts? Steward Liu frowned. He didn't believe the words of the devil-masked man in front of him. He asked in a deep voice, "Is there some misunderstanding here?" Zhou Fu shook his head and stepped forward. "There is no misunderstanding." "Oh, do you have evidence?" "I am the evidence." Steward Liu confirmed that the devil-masked man was here to find trouble. He roared, "Thief, don't be arrogant. Kill him for me." Kill. This time, the Red Sea gang members who rushed up were clearly different. Their actions weren't chaotic, but they rushed up in an organized and coordinated manner. Zhou Fu looked at the Red Sea gang members in front of him. In his mind, the youth from a Nine Rivers sword sect and that gorgeous sword appeared. With one sword, he seriously injured the hall master of the Red Sea gang and killed 5 gang members. You're good with the sword, but I also want to know how good my fists are. His internal strength surged, and his blood and chi surged. Zhou Fu stomped his foot, and his tall body soared into the air. His internal strength gathered in his fists. The mountain-breaking fists, mountain-splitting fists, internal strength intertwined with a Wisdom King demon, subduing seals, internal strength from the Wisdom King scripture. Die. His fists blasted out, and a strong wind exploded. Chapter 77. In the training field, Zhou Fu soared into the air, his sturdy body casting a shadow. Steward Liu, the leader of the Red Sea Gang, sneered when he saw this. It had been more than 20 years since he joined the Red Sea Gang. Although his martial arts were not high, he had commanded countless battles, both big and small. Even if you want to die, you don't have to be so careful. Kill him for me. After hearing Steward Liu's order, the gang members on the periphery quickly took out all kinds of hidden weapons and threw them at Zhou Fu in the air. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Bang, bang, bang. Under everyone's shocked gazes, the hidden weapons all bounced off Zhou Fu's body after hitting him. After seeing that the attacks were ineffective, Steward Liu quickly made a decision and shouted, "Disperse." After the order was given, the gang members near Zhou Fu hurriedly dispersed. Although these gang members were well-trained and dodged quickly, they still underestimated this punch. The fierce fist landed on the ground, and the bluestone tiles on the ground exploded with a bang. Countless small stones flew out. These small pebbles were carried by a powerful force, like loose bullets, exploding into the crowd, causing blood to splatter everywhere, causing the surrounding people to be thrown off their feet. After Zhou Fu landed, he did not stop and rushed into the crowd. He pushed his palms out, and the power of Rolling Stone Palm became extremely terrifying under the enhancement of his terrifying physique. Wu, as Zhou Fu pushed out with his palms, a whining sound rang out in the air. A strong wind swept through, and 5 figures flew out screaming. The blood they spat out splattered all over the ground. Again, Zhou Fu shouted. He flipped his right hand and slapped at the Red Sea Gang members who were sneaking up behind him and were about to sneak attack him. This gang member was also a clever person. Seeing that his sneak attack had failed, he quickly raised his saber to block. Just as the saber was raised, Zhou Fu's attack arrived. The steel saber was like a withered branch under Zhou Fu's palm, and it broke in an instant. The palm slammed down, smashing into this person's chest. The force penetrated his body, his bones and internal organs were mixed together, and he died on the spot. At this moment, a shout came from outside the arena. Red Sea Saber Formation, kill. The 6 Red Sea gang members rolled over and stood up. At this moment, they surrounded Zhou Fu in the center. At the same time, 6 long sabers were unsheathed and weaved into a net of sabers, trapping Zhou Fu in the middle. Just this, Zhou Fu sneered. Just now, the hidden weapons were useless. Did he think that changing to a long sword would work? Bang, bang, bang. As the afterimages flashed, Zhou Fu sent out 6 palm strikes in a row. The vigorous and strong palm strikes broke the saber. He exerted strength in his legs and rushed forward. The Rolling Stone Palm rushed out. The 6 people who formed the saber formation were sent flying almost instantly while vomiting blood. They died while they were still in the air. Seeing that the saber formation was broken, Steward Liu's heart skipped a beat and he began to panic. One must know that the Red Sea Gang had killed many people with this saber formation. Thus, in his panic, he roared, "Red Sea Saber Formation, heavenly punishment, and earthly destruction." This roar calmed the hearts of the people in the arena that had begun to sway. Under his command, 8 people rushed out from the crowd. 4 of them jumped into the air, and the other 4 rolled out. 8 long sabers, 4 up and 4 down, completely sealed off Zhou Fu's body. Zhou Fu said disdainfully, "If 6 people are not enough, then 8 people." Seal of the King of Hell's Aquarius. Pale golden inner strength circulated in his meridians, and a faint light flowed under his skin. Bang, bang, bang. 2 long sabers slashed at his legs, 2 at his arms, 2 at his ribs, and the last 2 at the sides of Zhou Fu's neck. Bang, bang. Inner strength surged, shaking off the long sabers. The people who attacked were dumbfounded. This person is not wearing any armor. He has no armor. Panic voices spread throughout the training field. Zhou Fu looked at the other party's frightened expression and said sarcastically, I gave you a chance, but you are useless. It's you who are useless. Bang! Zhou Fu's feet suddenly exerted force, and a small pit was instantly formed on the ground. At this time, Zhou Fu was like a fierce tiger rushing down the mountain, rushing into a flock of sheep. Blood and screams intertwined wherever his palms flew. Seeing that he could not do anything to Zhou Fu, Steward Liu hurriedly ordered a retreat. Brothers, retreat. Following the order, the panicked gang members threw away the long sabers in their hands, turned around, and ran. You want to leave? Zhou Fu looked at Steward Liu's figure and laughed sinisterly. With a twist of his right hand, he twisted the neck of a Red Sea gang member into a fried dough twist. He casually threw away the corpse and chased after Steward Liu, shouting, Tell me where Rin Jin is. I'll spare your life. Steward Liu, who was running away, and the people around him suddenly realized that this person was here to add insult to injury. That afternoon, the incident at Sea Return Restaurant had spread throughout the docks. Everyone knew that Rin Jin of the Red Sea Gang was seriously injured. Thief, don't even think about it. Steward Liu had just cursed when a voice that made him tremble in fear sounded behind him. Stay here. A large hand grabbed at Steward Liu's back. Who dares to be so impudent? A deep voice sounded, filled with anger. Zung, a sword chime sounded. A sword beam blasted onto Zhou Fu's palm. Boom! Inner strength exploded. Zhou Fu used the recoil force to flip over and land on the ground. Good strength. He opened his hand, and a trace of blood appeared on his right palm. Zhou Fu looked up and saw a man in his 30s dressed in blue and holding a long sword standing not far away. When Steward Liu saw this person, he was instantly overjoyed. External Emissary Chun, this person relied on his powerful martial arts to wantonly slaughter my Red Sea Gang members. Moreover, he even interrogated me about the whereabouts of our hall leader. You must take him down. Since I'm here, I naturally won't allow him to continue acting so impudently. External Emissary Chun snorted as he stared at Zhou Fu's devil mask. He said in a deep voice, as expected of a thief, hiding his head but showing his tail. One look, and I can tell that he's not a good person. Since you dare to behave so atrociously in my Red Sea Gang, then stay here. Clang! Amidst the sword chime, he flashed and crossed the distance of dozens of feet to arrive in front of Zhou Fu. The long sword in his hand trembled as he pierced it with his inner strength towards Zhou Fu's chest. It was as if he wanted to pierce through Zhou Fu's body. You talk big. Let me see how much weight you have. Zhou Fu raised his hand to block, while his left hand struck the sword from the side. Seeing Zhou Fu's action, External Emissary Chen's eyes flashed with ridicule. Someone actually dared to use their bare hands to fight against his long sword. Was there something wrong with his brain? Bang! The palm and sword collided, and the inner strength suddenly exploded. With a tearing sound, the sleeve on Zhou Fu's right forearm was torn to pieces by the sword chi. External Emissary Chun was not any better. A huge force came along with the sword and almost made his long sword fall out of his hand. In shock, he gripped the hilt of his sword so tightly that the bones in his wrist were in pain. After the exchange, both of them retreated. External Emissary Chun looked at Zhou Fu in bewilderment and exclaimed, "What a strong force!" Zhou Fu crossed his arms in front of him and rotated his right hand. There were several white marks on his forearm. Is this the sword chi? It seems to be much weaker than that young man in white. He raised his head to look at External Emissary Chun and asked, "Are you really not going to tell me the whereabouts of Rinjin?" External Emissary Chun pointed his sword at Zhou Fu and said in a deep voice, "If you want to see Hall Master Ren, you have to get through me first." Seeing that someone who could fight against him had appeared, Zhou Fu became excited. He had too many things to verify, but he could not find an opponent. And now wasn't his opponent here. Zhou Fu looked at External Emissary Chun. Under the mask, he grinned and said, "My favorite thing in life is to break through obstacles. Fight." Chapter 78. Emissary Chun snorted coldly as his inner chi surged within his body. Not only did it shake his clothes, even the air within an inch of him started to distort as if it was boiling. From your voice, I can tell that you're still young. It's fine to be arrogant when you're young, but don't be too arrogant. People like you will die. A silver-white sword chi slashed at him. At this time, Zhou Fu had also rushed over and struck out with a rolling stone palm. At the same time, a faint golden inner chi began to circulate within his body according to the Wisdom King's immobility seal. He had discovered this by accident just now. Boom! The sword chi shattered, and the violent inner chi tore a dozen holes in Zhou Fu's clothes. Zhou Fu didn't mind it. He looked at his palm in surprise. There was only a shallow scratch on it, and he couldn't feel any pain at all. He thought to himself, just as I thought, the Wisdom King scripture can enhance martial arts. This discovery was incredible. This skill could be used for both offense and defense, and now it could even be used as a support skill. This was a godly skill. At this time, Emissary Chun had also arrived in front of Zhou Fu. The long sword in his hand turned into a glint that filled the sky. The sharp sword chi pierced through the air and filled the air with a sharp whistling sound. Good timing. Zhou Fu's eyes glowed as he gathered inner chi in both of his hands. With the enhancement of the Wisdom King's scripture, the rolling stone palm turned into a rolling boulder. The heavy pressure surged toward his opponent. The two of them instantly clashed with each other. Waves of inner chi exploded, and the ground around them cracked. More than a dozen moves passed in the blink of an eye. At this point, external Emissary Chun had a good grasp of Zhou Fu's situation. Ding! Emissary Chin's long sword trembled as he took half a step back. The sword in his hand flashed, and three sword chi pierced toward Zhou Fu. Boom, boom, boom. The continuous attacks forced Zhou Fu to take 3 steps back. There was something wrong with these 3 attacks. The sword chi's inner chi was 20% stronger than before. Zhou Fu stomped on the ground and crushed a bluestone brick. Then, with a flick of his toes, several small pebbles whistled through the air and flew toward the opponent. Emissary Chun did not move, allowing Zhou Fu to pull away from him. At the same time, he slashed twice with his sword. This time, the sword radiance was different from the previous ones. The color of the sword radiance was light green like the lake water. Bang, bang, bang. Sword chi swept past, and those flying stones were chopped into powder. He looked at Zhou Fu in surprise and said, "Boy, this palm technique of yours should be a yellow stage technique, right?" That's right. The rolling stone palm that Wang Feng had taught him was only a yellow stage martial art. Although Zhou Fu had touched upon a trace of the thick earth force later on, at that time, he preferred to use his fists, so he put this martial art aside. I really didn't expect that a yellow stage palm technique could become like this in your hands. It can compete with my middle grade profound stage water-splitting sword technique. It's really... Emissary Chin shook his head helplessly. Then he sighed. The light green sword radiance was like flowing water, shining on the sword in his hand. People like you. If you become successful in the future, how glorious would you be? Unfortunately, you won't live past today. He stared at Zhou Fu and said seriously. Before he finished speaking, he stabbed out with his sword. This stab was different from the previous ones. In comparison, the previous ones were more like a joke. In Zhou Fu's eyes, he saw a faint green light rushing towards him. He felt as if his heart was being grabbed by a large hand, and his whole body was being squeezed. Shock, panic. This stab would kill him. All the hairs on Zhou Fu's body stood on end. He roared angrily and crazily urged his inner strength. He stomped his foot, and the violent inner strength exploded. His body also turned into a shadow and dodged to the side. The light green light brushed past Zhou Fu's left arm. After it landed on the ground, it exploded. Dust and gravel rose into the air. In the blink of an eye, Zhou Fu's figure appeared 10 meters away. Red blood flowed down his left arm and dripped to the ground. He didn't care about the injury on his arm. Instead, he stared at the place where he was standing. A sword mark that was 10 meters long and 2 inches deep appeared there. Zhou Fu was silent. How could he fight like this? Emissary Chun was panting. There were some sweat stains on his forehead. The stab just now had consumed a lot of his energy. He looked at the silent Zhou Fu and said, "You should be born with great strength. You practiced the yellow stage palm technique. The way you dodged just now was very clumsy. You must have figured it out yourself, right? Maybe you haven't even reached the yellow stage. As for your cultivation, you haven't reached the bone refining stage. You should still be at the strength training stage." As Emissary Chun recounted Zhou Fu's information, the smile on his face became brighter and brighter. He hadn't revealed his trump card, but his opponent had. This meant that he was only half a step away from victory. A kid at the strength refining stage can fight with me, a bone tempering stage cultivator. This is enough for you to brag about after you die. At this point, Emissary Chen's face turned ugly. After all, he had fought with someone who was a whole stage lower than him for half a day. This made him feel embarrassed. He glanced at Steward Liu, who was not far away. He decided that after he killed Zhou Fu, he would have a good chat with him. There were 3 stages of bone tempering. The first stage was to temper the internal force into the bones of the limbs. The second stage was to temper the spine, and the last stage was to temper the skull. After all 3 stages were completed, the internal force would spread throughout the body. The density of the bones would also increase by several levels. Emissary Chun was at the 3rd stage. He should be tempering the skull. At this moment, Emissary Chun looked up at the sky and said, "It's getting late. It's time to send you on your way." Ding, 4 light green sword lights shot out, sealing off all of Zhou Fu's escape routes. At this moment, Zhou Fu was frantically trying to think of a solution. The piercing pain from his body made him feel a sense of despair. What should I do? What should I do? What kind of technique could block it? As the sword aura approached him, his clothes were torn to shreds by the sharp internal force. A piece of the mask on his face was also shattered. Art of bronze armor. A name appeared in his mind. His eyes were filled with madness. If I don't succeed, I'll die trying. Maybe I can even transmigrate and live a better life. It's the kind of life where one can see the end of the horizon. It's a rich and boring life. Open for me. Boom. The light golden internal force in Zhou Fu's body was circulating crazily. Even the Buddha's shadow in his mind was forming the seal of Aquarius. Kacha kacha. His already muscular body expanded once again. The muscles all over his body bulged like balloons, and the purplish-green blood vessels were exposed like the roots of an old tree. The color of his skin was also faintly brassy. Boom, 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 boom. The sword aura landed and exploded. The violent internal force instantly shattered the surrounding bluestone bricks. A thick cloud of dust rose into the air. Huff, huff, Emissary Chin panted. His face was ferocious, but his eyes were filled with excitement. After all, he had killed a genius. This feeling was too intoxicating. Kid, it's a worthy death to be able to die under my all-out attack. Wasn't it true? There was a huge gap between the two of them. The stronger one was, the weaker one was. Hee ha, boom. A figure that looked like a small giant rushed out from the cloud of dust. A fist that was about the size of a human's head was faintly bronze in color. It was wrapped in a violent internal force and smashed down. Are you laughing? Die.